Chapter 1. New York City. Super criminals in fancy tights and coquettish superheroes swagger through the city and attract attention. The famous superhero is flying/swinging/floating. A little-known superhero fights on the street, ha ha ha. Biu. Even ordinary people are not to be outdone. They go shopping for 0 yuan and have gun battles. From time to time, some people are so imaginative that they fall asleep. But don't be afraid. The strange tales of millennia are as follows. First, shootings are routine and normal. The death toll is less than double digits, and the news media will not pay attention to it. Just relax a little. Just like the above, it will not affect the various associations and people who parade and protest at all. This is also a matter of course. After all, major associations are modern gangs that have been carefully packaged. Only occasionally, because the battle was too strong, the foundations wailed, the buildings swayed and collapsed, and flames shot into the sky. People will be like NPCs who are programmed to escape. Screaming, wailing, crying, riddled with holes, physically shattered. This is the heart of New York City. It's also the Marvel world. Very unfortunate. Guan Fuyun traveled here, and it's wearing. It has no identity, no background, cannot mutate, and cannot rely on technology. Pure passerby. The old man on the subway looked at his cell phone, and his face was almost broken. He stayed in the corner and observed first. Then he saw it. I saw people panicking and running away like headless flies. Behind them, the fire continued to spread. The buildings continued to collapse, and the streets swayed from side to side, and the walls were cracked. There were stray bullets and corpses everywhere, and billboards stained red with blood read about the presidential campaign. Fat and cokes, tanks, helicopters, and armored vehicles were driven into the city. The soldiers twisted their waists and put on makeup while shouting and killing, and poured out firepower crazily towards a certain scourge in the center of the sea of fire. However, there are no eggs. HMMHHHHHHHH accompanied by a foul-smelling cry, a gray-green, hateful giant that looked like a human plus sister-in-law plus seafood complex, mutated by super serum plus gamma radiation, crashed out. The flame fan became its fashionable cloak, and it stepped on the hot corpses and bullet casings everywhere. It showed New Yorkers what it meant to tear apart a tank. This is a shocking picture. People don't know what kind of monster this is. They only know that its birth is related to the warlords of millennia, who dug up demons from hell. It looked hideous, as savage as a gorilla. But the strength and speed are far beyond the limits of human beings. It can easily jump hundreds of meters high and smash helicopters to pieces like flies. With such power and speed, its body is also extremely terrifying. Bullets hitting it are like fleas itching, AK gargles, methane passes through the lungs, missiles bathe. Even the tank's heavy artillery or depleted uranium bombs cannot stop it. Its footsteps, those thick armors can be torn apart with bare hands, making hot weapons a cold joke. Boom. The airwaves lifted Guan Fuyun's windbreaker. He stayed quietly in his corner. Although there was still a distance, he could be considered as brushing against the wild hatred. They looked at each other. Because there's no point in panicking. So he didn't panic. This scene surprised many passers-by. Some second- and third-tier street heroes were also buying it occasionally, and they also wanted to show off. But the result was that he shrank back again. Like a wild beast patrolling only its own territory. It's also like their strength and popularity don't allow them to show off. Bite. The Father's Sorrow system is activated. As the name suggests, the main function of this system is to allow the host to have father's sorrow. You can get points as rewards for adopting children and raising them as adults. Points can be used for shopping in the system store and extracting nurturing entries. Nurturing terms can be given to children, and they will grow stronger. When the little boy is successfully raised into an adult and possesses the ability to survive in the Marvel world, the system will award an exclusive concept entry opportunity. Bite. We are now offering newbie benefits and exclusive concept entries. True immortality. From now on, the host is the true immortal, the only individual in the multi-universe. No one, no ability, no disaster can cause any harm to the host or imprison or seal it. And the host can cause real harm to anyone. The damage value depends on the attack power of the host body. Good. Concept level, Invincible. Guan Fuyun was really calm now. Immortality means true immortality and no calamity. This is the most important and best ability in Marvel, which destroys cities in 3 days and destroys the world in 5 days. Real injury means that although he is still an ordinary person, but he took a big step and went down. Abomination must also feel the pain of being hurt like ordinary people and be stunned for 3 seconds. Certainly, the gap in strength and speed between the two sides still exists. Then it's up to each individual. Bite. Please host spread the Father's love as soon as possible and enter the harvest season. The system prompted. This is also what should and must be. After all, although Guan Fuyun is invincible at the conceptual level, he is still an ordinary person and can still get hungry. Still have to eat. And $1 fried chicken, $1 wild chicken, etc. are all international jokes. It is real to eat human blood in hamburgers, and it is real to have all kinds of polluted water that residents have become accustomed to and have to deal with on their own. It is true that homeless people will occupy the house at any time, and then call the police and kick you out of your home. In the current version of Marvel life, it would be better for him to check out more system stores, or plant 2 acres of land, raise some chickens and ducks, and stay away from the hustle and bustle. The premise of all this, just being a dad. This is easy to handle. After all, with hatred like this, aren't there orphans everywhere? Just pick it up casually. At a glance, Guan Fuyun saw a little boy standing dazedly with his face covered in blood, as if he was holding the broken limbs of his parents. Blonde, blue eyes, lackluster face, pouty mouth. At first glance, he is very smart and easy to fool. It's you. Goth Hydra, Shield Bureau, floating carrier. Do. Ever since he became mad with hatred, One-Eyed Braised Egg's phone was about to be filled with calls. They were all here to scold him. He was so angry that his face turned black. He kept saying, "Mom, fake." And he was so angry that he took out his BB machine and rubbed it repeatedly, wondering whether to shake him or not. No way. In this short period of less than half a month, too many things have happened. First, Dr. Pym went crazy and killed all the first-generation Avengers, causing the Avengers project to be stopped and the files sealed. It also left him short-handed. Then there's Tony Shit, who misplaced the good billionaire and playboy and turned into Iron Man. Then because of his short life, he began to spend time, drink, indulge himself, and behave randomly. Then there was the Captain of the United States during World War II who was actually dug out. 2 more were dug out. One is named Steve Rogers, and the other is called Boy. There's something wrong with this. It's very embarrassing to offend fake. Something must have changed. Similar world integrate. And there was nothing he could do. Not to mention the above series of problems. Just in front of my eyes, under the mothership satellite live broadcast, there was unbridled hatred. I can't even deal with braised eggs. You can only pretend to be dead. Commander Fury, the president is calling. But there are always people he can't avoid. Hello, Mr. President. Commander Fury, you should have seen the situation in New York City, right?
Yes.
So what's your plan? SHIELD will continue to arrange agents to deal with abominations and arrange rescues, if necessary. That's not the answer I wanted. So, the plan of the presidential palace is that you just pretend to have fought, you have to be handsome in the photo, you have to have a loud voice, and then you have a bad show in the media, so that the people will be angry with the warlords and hate the opposing parties, so as not to affect my votes this term. Do you understand? What about rescue? Rescue is something that only superheroes can do. Don't America have enough superheroes? This is not what the presidential office should consider. We do not have this obligation. As if he was worried that Fury wouldn't understand, the president added, "Maybe this is life, everyone has to die." Fury? The president is calling. But Luodan didn't respond. It wasn't that he didn't want to make progress, but the content shown in the live broadcast at this moment was really amazing. Not only Luden saw it, but the whole world saw it. The news reporters who took aerial photos from the helicopter captured the scene that was destined to shock the planet. Boom, boom, boom. The mad hatred is infinitely rampant, tearing apart a building and smashing it like a big stick. The streets are riddled with holes, and people are torn apart. Screaming and wailing, like a drawing of hell, gradually approached a dull little boy. He seemed completely stunned and motionless. It seemed like he would be crushed in the next second. At this time, wearing a black windbreaker, rolled up into a black robe, he ran over. The night was already dark. In the gray fog and blood everywhere, his face was a little blurry, but it could be seen that he was an ordinary person, because he ran very hard and was out of breath. Caught up, Guan Fuyun ran to the little boy, faced him, and hugged him. Then, with his back to everyone and the hateful giant, he withstood all the blood and screams with his thin body. Hateful collisions, roars. His clothes were torn and sticky blood was stained on them, all of which made Guan Fuyun uncomfortable. In the eyes of everyone, the ugly and arrogant demon that shattered the streets and disintegrated the buildings, and the bright red carpet paved with blood under its feet. In this moment there is an end. The bright red shattered, as if turning into crumbs of red light spots, flying one after another. The hateful giant rolls over. Guan Fuyun's body was trembling slightly and shaking, as if he would fall down at any time, but he just wouldn't fall down. His straight spine was bent just for the hug. A beam of streetlight light fell, illuminating his delighted face and the boy's astonishment. Even in the deepest laboratory, in the most delusional dream, the boy never thought that someone would come towards him with a smile, and that someone would give him a hug regardless of life or death. This made his dark and twisted psychology feel a great and insurmountable shock and satisfaction. "Hello, boy," Guan Fuyun said. "Where are your parents?" "I don't have parents." "Where are you from?" "I don't know. I was in the laboratory a second ago, and suddenly I'm here. It's like a dream." "Where are you going?" "I don't know. I have nowhere to go." "Then will you be my son?" "Father." So familiar? Guan Fuyun was stunned for a moment. This little brat. So coaxing. Guan Fuyun smiled. "Well, you can call me godfather or adoptive father." "Father." "Okay, as long as you're happy. What's your name?" "Dad." "Are you asking about my personal name or the name of my product?" "What's the meaning?" "My personal name is John, which was given by the scientist who used me for experiments and threw me into a high-temperature furnace. My product name is from the motherland, which was given by the company and will be sold for profit in the future." Guan Fuyun. Grass, a plant? Chapter 2. Who in the family understands? I'm in Marvel, and I just picked up a man from my motherland, and he wants to follow me. The corners of Guan Fuyun's mouth twitched. No wonder he is so familiar. If you give him some sunshine, he will shine. If you give him some emotional value, he will call you daddy. It turns out there is a real lack of love. The gold content of this dad can be filled to the fullest. Xiaobi Zizi means it sincerely. To this, Guan Fuyun can only say, Blanche. The world was more abstract than he imagined. Actually integrated the character in Black Robe. As the well-deserved protagonist of the Black Robe series, the Motherland Man is a low-profile Superman without a biological force field. Possess many super abilities, such as Super 5 Senses, Super Strength, Super Speed, Clairvoyance, Heat Vision, and Lie Detection. And most importantly, the super physical body. He should be 8 years old now, and his mental age is estimated to be only 3 years old, or even 2 years old. But a gentle hug can already crush a woman's spine. The flight speed exceeds the speed of sound. The Force can throw a baseball from New York to Boston, including nuclear bombs. All weapons known to normal humans cannot kill him. The main thing is to make the world explode. And, although this little brat has Superman's equipment, he doesn't have Superman's mentality. He grew up in a laboratory and was artificially implanted with the personality of a giant baby. Is a product. Just. If he hadn't hugged Azu, the hatred giant would have really d off this little brat, and they started a fight. It's hard to say who would win, but Azu will not kill fewer people than the hatred giant, that's for sure. Well, how could he be a father? Others could pick up Clark, but he could only pick up Azu? Wrong. To be Superman's father, you must have high moral character and sacrifice yourself for others. Even if you are in danger, you must not expose your son. And if he does something bad, he will be killed by Superman and his friends sooner or later. Being Azu's father. If you encounter any danger or trouble, he can kill the entire presidential palace. After that, he will ask you if you want a hand-ground coffee. How wonderful. How human-like. This is the kind of big boy he wants. In this abstract world, Guan Fuyun did as the Romans did, and he didn't think there was anything wrong with killing people, especially those super criminals who only catch but don't kill them every day, escape from prison and commit crimes over and over again. It's simply funny. The problem is that Azu kills people too casually and crudely, but it doesn't matter. This can be corrected through acquired education. All he needs to do is to be sincere and teach him well, so that he can know that he can't just kill people, but also set fires and destroy the corpses and eliminate traces. Say it again. Now Azu, with this kind of strength and speed, is definitely a good farmer. Daily cleaning and cleaning, he can do the work of 100 people by himself, so it saves a lot of worry. It doesn't matter if you call me John or a native of the country. These are just part of your past life. Judging from the way you lower your head and are ashamed to talk about it, this past should not be glorious. So, if you don't want to dwell on the past, just treat yourself as a new student now. From now on, I'll call you Azu. The corner of Guan Fuyun's mouth rose, a little amused by himself. If you absolutely need a nickname, just call me fellow countryman, which sounds more friendly! Exclamation point. Hearing this, Azu suddenly raised his head, his face serious and serious, a little shocked and happy, like a primitive savage caught on fire. Now, the streets were still broken, the flames were still burning, the sky was filled with smoke, and many people were screaming. His super hearing is turned up to maximum. But the whole world is not noisy, because he could only hear Guan Fuyun's voice, which sounded really happy, sincere, and not fake. This made Azu feel particularly at ease. This is the emotion called having a father, which grew in his heart and turned into a moment of happiness. Azu, fellow countryman, this is the name given by my father. Bite. Congratulations to the host for adopting baby number 1. Azu, reward, a farm. It is located in the outskirts of New York City and covers an area of 200 acres. It has all the necessary documents and can be inspected at any time. Okay. This reward is much needed. Let's go and see our home. Boom, boom, boom. On the side, Hulk arrived belatedly and struggled with abomination. It's getting lively again. America, a country of agents and spies, has more and more agents. Guan Fuyun held Azu's hand and left following the system's guidance. Exclamation point. The moment when big hands hold little hands. Azu's body trembled. My eyes were so bright that I almost used laser light. But he fought hard to hold it back. The long-awaited father has arrived, which makes him ecstatic, but also makes him worry about gains and losses. His cognition and brain power are beyond ordinary people, so he can't help but think too much, but his mental age is lower than ordinary people, so he always makes mistakes. Worried that I might dissatisfy my father, Azu was full of lust and asked proactively, "Many people here are injured. Do we want to save them?" When rescuing people, there must be media and reporters nearby. To laugh, say with a righteous face, "And you, my friend, you are the real hero." These are the lessons he will learn in the company. Now, it seems that there is a chance to perform and be praised by Dad? No need. Guan Fuyun denied. I am very powerful. Dad, I have super ability. I can fight that ugly person. As long as it is your wish, I will do anything. Azu was a little anxious, so he spoke directly to Baolang, his eyes red and warm. In this world, having super ability is a good thing. Guan Fuyun touched Azu's dog head, thought for a moment and said, "This means you are a genius. You might have the power to be a superhero. But as your father, I don't want you to be a thankless hero. Being a hero will ruin your life. On the contrary, your super ability and your talent can be used to help you live a better life. The most important thing is that you live a happy life. I don't care about the life or death of others. On the contrary, if you get hurt and get into trouble because you are a hero, I will be very unhappy." After all, no one calls him Dad. Guan Fuyun thought so in his heart and said so in his mouth. Bite. Child number 1 Azu's gratitude to the host has skyrocketed. 70%, 80%, 90% A. Reward. 10,000 points. Bite. System store is opened. Seeds, breeding pigs, agricultural tools, weapons, super serum, infinite gloves. You can buy all items here. Good guy. This is true 6. For daily needs, you can buy a lot of products with just a few points, which is super convenient and cost-effective. What if it was the Infinity Gauntlet? One costs 500,000 points. Further up, there are various divine tools, infinite gems, God's bodies, etc. A dazzling array of items. But these are like luxury goods. If you want them, there is no need to buy them. When the time comes, just buy it for 0 yuan, and it will be replaced if it is fake. The bulk of daily points consumption. It has to be a 20,000 time entry extraction activity. Bite. Gratitude degree 90%. Additional rewards will be drawn once to develop the entry. Do you want to use it? Yes. Guan Fuyun said in his heart. Bite. Congratulations on getting the development entry, Sunshine. Sunshine can become stronger by basking in the sun, but easily thirsty, must drink dairy products to quench thirst. Chapter 3. Question mark. Guan Fuyun had a question mark on his face. What is the Guba entry? It's a bit strange. I'm not sure. Let's take another look. Never mind. Just give it to Azu. It's not a big deal if you like to drink milk. It's fine. Although he has something, he is not really powerful in the Marvel world where demons are raging. After giving the entry, Sunshine, Only then does he have the potential to evolve towards the real Superman. Unfortunately, it's still dark now, so I can't see the effect. Guan Fuyun first spent some points to buy a black windbreaker that was bulletproof, high-temperature resistant, and anti-corrosion in the system store. Show successful purchase. The clothes were loaded directly onto his body, just like Balala Little Demon Fairy's whole body transformation, which was very convenient. Is it magic? This scene shocked Azu. That's right, Guan Fuyun said. Can I learn? Azu wanted to express himself again. Look, I'm in a hurry, Guan Fuyun said. Everyone's talents are different. You have your own direction of progress. Your potential is endless, but it's just been delayed by mediocrity. I will help you develop it, Xiaodeng said. He reached out and touched Azu's golden retriever head, and at the same time gave him the word sunshine. Moment. Even at night, with the sunlight reflected by the moon, Azu still felt warm and comfortable all over his body, and every cell was jumping and cheering. A power that was so powerful that it could not be controlled by oneself, and would go berserk when excited. At this moment, it actually works like an arm. And there is a stronger trend. It's Dad. My potential is endless, but only he can help me develop it. Those in the company are all mediocre. Stupid people. Dad is stronger and better. Whatever he says is right. Azu's red eyes gradually disappeared, and he kept roaring in his heart, calling for Daddy. He smiled and asked, Dad, what is Xiaodeng? Well, it's a term of endearment for children in my hometown, Guan Fuyun said without changing his expression and his heart not beating. Then can I call you Laoding? Azu said happily and excitedly. Guan Fuyun. This little brat. Downtown, fighting is fun. After a fierce battle, explosive memories, and passionate counterattack, the Hulk defeated the Abomination, which put a perfect question mark on this chaos between monsters. But people remember Guan Fuyun more. That ordinary man, with his mortal body, defeated the monster and also shook people's hearts. Even the Hulk needs to be beaten up. Even depleted uranium bombs can only scratch it. Even such a monster would stop and turn over because of a man's back. This adds so much mystery to him. Until now, people may not have accepted the fact that there are monsters like Abomination and Hulk in the world, but they have accepted the setting of the most handsome man. Although few people saw Guan Fuyun's face, but there are already people remembering him. Hulk, may I ask? After fighting life and death for a long time, the supporting role turned out to be myself? 6. On the suburban farm, the moon and stars are sparse. So big, Azu exclaimed. 1 acre is 4,047 square meters, and the area of 200 acres is really large. Especially compared to the narrow laboratory where he used to live, it can be described as vast. When I think of it, this is my father's home and nest. Azu felt unprecedented joy and satisfaction. Guan Fuyun needs to look more carefully. But when he saw the circle of big trees and barbed wire fence surrounding the farm, there is also a large field in the middle of the farm, as well as supporting water and electricity facilities. The water can be drawn from the well and is clear and sweet. You can generate electricity yourself, including diesel, gasoline, and human power generation. He couldn't help but smile. Very good. For a while, the two of them couldn't sleep at all. I can't take any time off either. Azu, I'll give you a hoe. Go and plow the land. The weeds will cover the ground and fertilize the soil. Azu, come here to generate electricity. Azu, dig deeper into the ground. Yes, 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 and then dig a well and make a fish pond. I'll throw the fry in. Azu, I'll give you the materials to build a pigsty. Azu, use thermal vision to weld the barbed wire here. Azu, plant these vegetable seedlings and let the cattle and sheep pasture. Azu, come and drink some milk. Don't be shy. Drink more, yes, it's not enough. Azu just needs to be a cow and work hard, while Guan Fuyun has to think about what to buy and what to arrange, and he is exhausted from talking. But the results are remarkable. The sky is bright. The two of them were sitting on the ridge of the farm, looking at the fish ponds full of fish, the fields full of vegetables, and the noisy cattle, sheep, pigs, dogs, and chickens in the fence. There are also bottles and jars in the kitchen, with rice in the rice vat and water in the water vat. I felt comfortable immediately. There is a kind of joy in being able to live here peacefully for a long time and live well. Gudong, gudong. Azu drank the milk, transformed by Guan Fuyun in big gulps, and Azu felt heartily. Compared to the beauty of this moment, his little blanket seemed irrelevant and insignificant. When he thought that all this was the result of his busy work and that he had helped his father a lot, Azu felt a sense of accomplishment. He was so happy. Azu. At this time, Guan Fuyun yawned and said, "You have to remember." Azu pricked up his ears. Guan Fuyun continued. "From now on, whoever steps on our land and damages our crops will be killed and buried in the soil. The most important thing in life is to be clean. Don't get it all over your face. Don't leave fingerprints and traces everywhere. Thermal vision is good, but destroying corpses and removing traces is even better. Only in this way can we preserve the beauty of this moment. Do you understand?" Azu looked serious and thoughtful, and nodded. He remembered every word Guan Fuyun said. "Then emphasize in your mind, Dad is right." Finished. Guan Fuyun was really hungry, so he went to the kitchen, slaughtered an old hen, shredded the chicken berries, added dried bamboo shoots, and made a pot of fresh soup. Then scalded 2 bowls of rice noodles. "Bring it to Azu." "Thank you, Dad." Azu was so flattered that he took a sip and his eyes widened immediately. For a moment, I doubted my life. Is this something people eat? This is obviously God's delicacy. Take another bite. Still so delicious. It was so delicious that his whole body was physically floating, and he completely forgot to clean the blanket. Suck, suck. He was eating like a wild boar, smacking his lips crazily and making rude sounds. Guan Fuyun. This little brat. I haven't had a good temperament since I was a child. Bite. Child number 1 Azu. The level of gratitude has increased. 90%, 95%. There is also the blessing of not eating the phase. Guan Fuyun smiled. Chapter 4. 1 month passed in a hurry. It seems that because of the integration of Black Row plus Marvel World, the timeline has also changed. In this month, not many people died in New York City. No big deal. But Guan Fuyun and Azu didn't go out. They just stayed at the farm. One knows everything and feels it is not new, and then becomes lazy and only wants to have a half day of leisure. One is a giant baby who only wants to listen to his father's words and perform hard. Whenever he is praised a word or two, he will be happy to heaven. It's true that inner 8 go to heaven. Now Azu can fly outside the blue star, be in the space environment, and absorb the rising eastern twilight crazily. And therefore, his body is completely in the rhythm of abnormal development. It's only been a month. It was as if several years had passed and the person had evolved into a youth form, revealing a face that was slightly immature, but was indeed Anthony's face. This change made him uneasy. But when Guan Fuyun said, "It looks more pleasing to the eye this way, very handsome. Your talent has been realized. Dad is proud of you." Zubao immediately became happy again and smiled. He likes to play ball with Guan Fuyun with all his strength, use his heat vision to perform scraping and cupping on Guan Fuyun, and take his father who is a little afraid of heights to the sky. I prefer plowing the land, growing vegetables, watering, and taking care of the cattle and sheep every day, and listening to my father tell me stories and the principles of life. For example, the guy who said, "Hey, it's worth dying to see this scene." The Bruce Wayne in another world is the same as the Tony shit in this world. They are equally conceited and self-righteous. They are just like Milliken now, trying hard to package and be a superhero, but the result is to cause greater trouble to the world. Another example is the Xavier Academy for the Gifted reported on TV. The bald guy, Professor X, is the most hypocritical mutant in the world. He was very busy throughout his life, but he didn't know what he was busy with. When he was old, he had nothing to do, and he was miserable. Another example is that he and Guan Fuyun are not biological father and son. But according to the rules of my father's hometown, if a child is not raised before he is born, he can be compensated for it by cutting off his finger, but if he is not born and raised, he will never be able to repay it for a lifetime. In other words, he and his father still have a fate that lasts forever. This made him feel fulfilled and happy. At the same time, he is also working hard, constantly training his ability, and seriously learning the skills of being a human being. Try to impress the young dad. Faster speed and strength, coupled with super 5 senses and perspective, allow me to perform more precise operations, such as ejecting a coin/stone/needle to kill someone. Thermal vision can be used to destroy corpses and eliminate traces. If you want to better hide fingerprints, smells, and other biological information, you need a uniform. The most important thing in life is to be clean. Azu exercised his body and used his brain. The more he thought about his father's teachings, the more reasonable he felt. How could there be such a handsome father with such amazing wisdom in the world? It really makes people envious and jealous. Oh, it turns out to be his father. That's okay. Azu thought about it and felt so beautiful that he let out a silly smile. Suddenly, His ears twitched and his nose twitched. Stopped exercising. The breathing in the room is even and long. Dad is still taking a lunch break. Azu came to a conclusion. Although Guan Fuyun is invincible, no one can hurt him even a hair. But he is indeed an ordinary person. You will be tired and need to rest. Especially after playing with yourself, you need to be more lazy. Besides Dad, there are 2 other people approaching the farm. Their smell is unfamiliar, and their footsteps are very light, as if they are deliberately suppressed. Who is it? For what? Azu frowned, a little irritated. If they come in and step on our vegetable patch, they will bury it immediately. This way you won't disturb Dad's lunch break. Azu thought so. He couldn't help but think this way, because his father was in pain and he was unhappy. Then, he just held his breath and stopped breathing. The whole figure seemed to have disappeared, without making any movement, observing secretly from a distance, looking at the open door. Hello? Is anyone there? 2 men in black suits walked in. They looked around and were a little confused when they found no one. Are you kidding me? Such a big farm, so many cattle and sheep. Just leave it open like this? No one is watching? Not to mention setting up a sniper. At least someone needs to be walking around with a spray gun, right? Otherwise, it would be like buying it for 0 yuan. Is the atmosphere in America so good? The black suit on the left opens. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. There must be a scam. Maybe there are landmines ahead. The man in the black suit on the right said firmly. He already felt chills running down his spine and sweat dripping down his back. As a result, the 2 of them did not even dare to take a step forward, let alone investigation. He just stood there as if he was petrified. Until Guan Fuyun wakes up from sleep. Dad, someone is looking for you outside. Azu was serving tea and water. Who? Guan Fuyun yawned. He's Milliken's agent. The official signature on the certificate seems to be called S.H.I.E.L.D. Their names are Phil Coulson and Grant Ward. Azu had already seen it through perspective. Guan Fuyun waved his hand. Let them come in. He was not surprised that the Snake Shield Bureau came to visit. What these so-called secret agents like most is to dig out, control, and expose other people's secrets. And he is not afraid. The first is combat power. He is true immortal. Even if all the soldiers, weapons, and superheroes from all over the United States are brought in, he can't break his defense. It can't even imprison or seal him. It may take some time and be a bit troublesome, but he is destined to kill anyone if he wants to. Secondly, as a time traveler, his only relatives, friends, and concerns now are the sunshine in front of him, Azu. Except for the absence of the biological force field, Azu is completely Superman. A great Azu. Not to mention Snake and Shield. Most supervillains who want to use Azu to threaten him will be crushed by Azu first, so he can do whatever he wants. Hello, Mr. Guan. A middle-aged uncle with a sky-high hairline and a kind face was led into the living room by Azu. He smiled and introduced himself. I'm Coulson. At the same time, he turned sideways, pointed at the unsmiling man behind him, and said, This is Ward. We are agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hearing this, Guan Fuyun looked pitiful. No way. Now on the stage, what appears in front of him is Funny, a well-known good guy among agents. Big fan of Captain America. Fighting cows and horses among cows and horses. He has to work on the set of Iron Man, go to New Mexico to pick up the Thor hammer, and be responsible for related work on the Tesseract. It was even said that the superheroes were losing their temper and fighting on their own, so they had to die once to use his head so that the Avengers could assemble. It's not over even after death. He also has to be our ******* D and our ****** D by alien-loving aliens, resurrected with braised eggs, and then beaten to death and treated like a beast. It can be said to be a lifetime. The other one, Ward, is even more heavyweight. He is only loyal to Hydra's agent, his adoptive father Garrett. In other words, he can be AB ****** D for both Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. mission. Impossible. Now, seeing the 2 men showing their IDs, Guan Fuyun suddenly said, What is S.H.I.E.L.D.? I don't understand. Please spell out the full English name of your department, including every letter. Coulson, Ward. ? No, man. They have been walking around the streets for so many years, and all they have encountered are simpler way of speaking. This is the first time that someone is curious about the whole story. What's more terrible is, they themselves have forgotten to work hard. For example, Ward just froze on the spot, and it would be enough if he didn't shout, Long live Hydra. It had to be Coulson, who shook off his baggage and said, Strategic Han Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division, or SHIEL. So hard? No wonder you are a cow and a horse. Guan Fuyun was amused and said to Azu, Bring him some melon seeds. Chapter 5. Hearing this, Azu grinned and made a pig noise. He knows about melon seeds. Basically equal to, this is a fool. But the two seemingly well-trained agents looked confused and politely thanked them. This is a joke that only belongs to him and his father. Thinking of this, Azu smiled even more happily. The boss was grinning like a naughty kid who got his beloved toy, which was quite inexplicable. This exaggerated and mentally retarded performance made the two agents look at Guan Fuyun with a hint of admiration. After all, looking at the information and files, we can see that he is a Chinese who worked hard in New York and also adopted a mentally retarded person who was completely unrelated to him. This is amazing. Seeing that Coulson was still addicted to melon seeds, Guan Fuyun couldn't help it anymore and pointed at his head. The work of SHIELD must be very stressful, right? With such thin hair, someone who didn't know better would have thought he was 20 years old. Programmer, you are so funny. Coulson smiled awkwardly but politely. Hart, can you speak? What does it mean to be a 20-year-old programmer? As a 20-year-old programmer, can my hair be as vibrant as mine? He was complaining madly in his heart. Ahahaha. On the side, Azu, who can pass the Super 5 sense lie detection and evaluate psychological activities, burst into laughter and rolled on the ground. Coulson. Ward. What is he laughing at? It's funny to laugh at you, Guan Fuyun said. I'm a grown-up, that's all I have. If you don't like what you hear, just get out. This is a big deal. As soon as he said this, Azu looked proud, elated and happy again. Ward. Coulson. Well, actually, Mr. Officer, we have business to do. Let it go, Guan Fuyun said. 1 month ago, hatred caused bloodshed in Brooklyn, New York City. Someone blocked it. The reporter took a photo that is destined to shock the world. Is this photo of you? Coulson spoke, or rather asked. The Marvel world is very abstract. On the one hand, there are high-tech explosions, such as laser guns, floating carriers, starships, and Iron Man armors, all emerging one after another. On the other hand, supplies are poor, and the slums have been buying for 0 yuan, beating their heads to pieces for a piece of bread. On the one hand, satellite technology and eavesdropping technology are developed. On the other hand, there is basically no household registration or registration. All you need to do is change a city and apply for a fake certificate, and you are a new person. Under such circumstances, the Snake and Shield Bureau actually came to visit. There is a bit of bad luck on him. It's me, Guan Fuyun said. Is it you? Coulson frowned, wanting to confirm. Then you saved a little boy. It's him. Guan Fuyun pointed at Azu. Is it him? Coulson felt like he was being teased again. He shook his head and pointed at the photo. It doesn't look like it. At that time, Azu was still very thin. Guan Fuyun. It still doesn't look like it. This is not the same person at all. Coulson pointed to the photo. He is only 8 years old. Azu is also 8 years old. Guan Fuyun. What the hell is this 8 years old? Coulson shook his head and said nothing. Not only was he certain that Azu was not a little boy, I am even more certain that the man in front of me is not the hate blocker in the photo. Guan Fuyun was just making fun of him. These Chinese are like this. They are not afraid of anything. They dare to say anything, and they dare to joke about anything. It's not like the Chinese Americans who have been beautified. They just dress themselves up like buffoons, get beaten up, and then play Joker on the street with a plaque that says, Americans don't beat up Americans. Sorry to bother you, farewell. The two agents left in a hurry and turned into silhouettes. Azu witnessed the whole process and suddenly said, Dad, that man named Ward has malicious intentions towards us. He is showing his domineering attitude and is looking for death. Guan Fuyun affirmed. Very good. Very detailed observation. Ward is the Hydra agent I told you. He made Dad unhappy? Azu began to frown. A little. Guan Fuyun nodded. Because once the peaceful life is broken, life will become more and more abstract. Then I'll kill them? Azu's eyes turned red. Guan Fuyun looked at him quietly. It won't leave any traces. I don't even need to use too many abilities to cause a car accident, Azu argued. Not enough. Guan Fuyun shook his head and said, I told you it was a Hydra. What problem can be solved by killing one of the minions? Either don't kill or kill them all. There is an old saying in my hometown, which is that if the grass is cut without removing the root, it will grow again when the spring breeze blows. Besides, Azu, My dear son, you are the real king. You were born to do great things. Why don't you think about controlling Hydra yourself once and for all? Hearing this, Azu was immediately shocked. He is only 8 years old. Is it too early to study world domination now? He was a little at a loss and said nervously, Is this really okay? I'm afraid I'll screw up, Dad. It doesn't matter, Guan Fuyun said. If things go well, you will be my best friend. If things go wrong, you will still be my best friend. What matters is not other people or other things, but your feelings, Azu. And if you really want to succeed, I will help you, Xiaodeng. After listening to this, Azu felt that the corpse was warm and the spots on the corpse were faded. He nodded solemnly. I understand, Lao Deng said. He planned to go out to do great things, etc. Guan Fuyun stopped and said, I have prepared some gifts for you. People at Marvel, how can you show off without a uniform? He waved his hand, and a set of uniforms that could be exchanged for 100 points, had outstanding performance, and could withstand most battles and impacts, was thrown out. The style is similar to the original Azu's battlesuit in black robe, but the paint is black. Also, Superman's black-rimmed glasses. After wearing them, others will most likely not be able to recognize your face. Go out and show off your power. Just show up and show off your power. This is just for daily wear. Guan Fuyun explained, this is also 100 points. Since adopting Azu, he can be rewarded with 100 points every day, and he can make money by sitting on the land, and he lacks nothing. And after a month of getting along, he also understood what it means to systematically cultivate adults. For example, Tony Shit. He is the boss of Stark Industries, a billionaire and a playboy. He is not an adult like this. Only when he becomes Iron Man can he be considered a person and have the ability to survive in the Marvel world. Likewise, Guan Fuyun also needs to arrange a career and life plan for Azu and truly realize it. It also brings the role of an old father into full play. Now, I wish you happy killing. Guan Fuyun looked forward to it, gave Azu a large bucket of milk and said, You must be a good person. Chapter 6. Don't worry, Dad. In the name of my father, I must be a good person. I have the uniform I longed for, as well as disguise glasses and breasts. Azu was so happy that he did the splits. He held the milk pail in his arms, flew into the sky in a dark and twisted posture, and whizzed away. Straight up to the sky. Yes, Dad is right. He doesn't need to care about the ants. He can just go and fight the floating carrier. Strengthened by sunlight plus milk. Azu's physical strength was endless and his heat vision was extremely strong. He flew faster and faster, and even in the Aegis probe, it was just a blurry afterimage. Snap. On board the floating carrier, Azu's perspective plus super 5 senses are fully opened, and the surrounding space, people, and facilities are all three-dimensionally presented, giving you an unobstructed view. He easily calculated the best infiltration route. Well, dive in. Despite all the steel and weapons, this floating carrier, in Azu's eyes, was no more than a plastic toy. As long as he exerts a little force, he can make it fall with a glare. But that doesn't make sense. First, he came to conquer. Second, as my father said, the mantis stalks the cicada and the oriole follows behind. With his current strength, he can become a very good mantis. If he is good enough and knows how to behave, he can hunt even an oriole. But if you act arrogantly, you may become a cicada. The world is big and dangerous. Azu couldn't understand the meaning of this sentence, but he would not and would never question his father's words. Everything Dad said is right. He just needs to obey. Question mark. Shield. In a corridor of the helicarrier, an agent saw a guy in strange clothes, drinking milk, walking silently, as if he was floating at low altitude. He only glanced at it and had no time to react. Boom. The scarlet heat vision penetrated him directly, like a flashlight. When the heat vision was first emitted, it was only the size of the pupil, but after a certain distance, it actually expanded to half a meter thick. Direct exposure to high temperature vaporizes the agent. Evaporated. To be a good person, you cannot do without warmth. Azu nodded. His father said that his heat vision was a magic weapon for killing vegetables, and it was indeed true. After being strengthened and developed by absorbing sunlight, it's even more fun for him to abuse food. Go all the way. Simply invincible. Who can stop Go Daolia's Shin-Yong Superman? His actions were too fast and too efficient. So much so that Luodan, who had no idea where he was, had no idea that someone on the mothership had disappeared. Certainly, it's okay for him to know. Just like the warlords of America, If braised eggs cannot do anything else, it will need funds. A bag of parts costing $90,000, 3 trolleys costing $170,000. Under the nourishment of these tools, the American aircraft carrier was about to burst. How could SHIELD be an exception? Many of the equipment on the floating carrier are out of action. Let's talk about the soldiers. Diversity and legality are popular in America today. Diversity allows soldiers to change gender and makeup, and legality allows soldiers to take drugs. Sometimes people disappear, probably just to relax. What's all the fuss about? Right. This also explains why SHIELD was infiltrated by Hydra and became mentally retarded, and often performs operations that make people mentally retarded. The missing parts in comics and movies can easily be supplemented by reality. Even this ethos has influenced Hydra. Let this terrorist organization, which was supposed to sweep the world and be everywhere, slowly transform into an international resource-sharing platform. There are quite a few smugglers who eat and drink around every day. During meetings, they would shout the slogan, "Conquer the world," twice to express the meaning of, "I want to make progress and make money." But then it becomes boring, so they couldn't stop Azu. At this time, in the Hydra branch, S.H.I.E.L.D., the respected SHIELD veteran Minister Alexander Pierce was elegantly shaking a red wine glass. He walked into the secret room. I saw a guy wearing a black combat uniform and a metal prosthetic leg looked like a dead thing, standing still. He is Bucky Barnes, Hydra's legendary killer ace, the Winter Soldier. Steve Rogers is alive and he's back, like an old ghost abandoned by the times, bumping into the streets recklessly. Nick Fury went to pay attention to another boy who was dug out. This is our opportunity. Insight Project launched. Steve, Falcon, Natasha Romanoff are all targets. Pierce told of his plan, a mass assassination. He knows this. Assassinate other countries' political figures, create chaos and crisis, then resell arms, and finally use the media to portray the resistors as terrorists and call on allies to fight, bite, and carve up the country. Not smart, shameless but effective. While talking, Pierce called his subordinate, Hydra agent, Garrett, codenamed Acute Eyes, and was about to give orders. Wow, wow, wow. Suddenly I heard a careless exclamation. Then I saw a blond man in a cloak holding a wooden bucket of milk in both hands and sucking it. His feet were off the ground. His eyes were filled with scarlet destructive heat, and he said in an innocent but unquestionable tone, "Who is the leader of the snake here? Come out and kneel down. I have something to tell you." Pierce gave the Winter Soldier an order. Whoosh! The next moment, the well-trained, murderous, and terrifying Winter Soldier rushed forward, brandishing his iron arm and knife. Bang! Sparks flew everywhere, and the countless sharp blades that cut throats shattered the moment they touched Azu's skin. Yo, yo, yo. Isn't this Winter Soldier? The killer who caused such a fuss and was reported on by TV stations is actually in S.H.I.E.L.D.? Like Walt, do you also raise supervillains? Then your packaging of superheroes is too amateurish. TV, movies, peripherals, how can you make money if you don't have anything? A pig's brain. Walter's courses and Guan Fuyun's words and deeds were combined in a wonderful way. Azu suddenly had an idea and came up with the idea of opening a Vought company in Marvel. It's called Daddy's Got It All Company. When the time comes, I will be responsible for drinking milk and making money to support the family, and Dad just needs to lie down. If Dad has nothing to do, you can give him some beauties, but you can't let him have an empty nest. Bite. Child number 1, Azu, determines his life goal, to open a company similar to Walt's at Marvel. Reward, 10,000 points? Question mark. In the farm, Guan Fuyun sat up in shock as he was dying of illness. He never expected such a divine unfolding. Zubao is just different. He smiled inexplicably, and then said, "System, draw a cultivation entry." Bite. 20,000 points are consumed, and the remaining points are 2,600 points. Get development entry. Spiritual support. Spiritual support. The father is the spiritual support of the child. As long as he thinks of you, the child will have no worries at all. By the way, it can resist the mental ability effect. This is pretty good. Guan Fuyun directly gave Azu the entry remotely. Chapter 7. Weak, too weak. You don't even have the strength to hit someone, but you still say you are a Hydra? This iron arm is really handsome. Take it off and take it home as a figurine for Dad. Serpent Shield Bureau, floating carrier. With childlike movements, Azu dismantled the Winter Soldier, punched Bucky's head open, and then burned the remains with his heat vision. This scene made Pierce's eyelids twitch. Oh my God. This is the Winter Soldier. He's a cyborg, a super soldier, and a world-class killer. Even if the American captain comes, we can only fight him 50 to 50, right? Who is this person? At this moment, Pierce finally panicked, but just like Milligan, the more he panicked, the more he wanted to show his teeth and claws. He said fiercely, "Are you going to make an enemy of Hydra and SHIELD? I admit that you have some strength and can sit at the dining table, but your family may not necessarily become food." Boom. Before he finished speaking, his heat vision came out. Pierce's head exploded and shattered into pieces. Azu, with red eyes, turned his head and looked at Garrett. He smiled brightly and said like a sunny and cheerful boy, "Can you understand human speech?" "Of course, sir." Garrett kowtowed directly. "I am your dog. I will do whatever you ask me to do." He joined Hydra and pursued fame and fortune all his life. In the end, he became terminally ill and now relies on the serum developed by his Centipede project to survive. In other words, he really wants to live. The desire to survive makes him aware of current affairs. Azu asked again, "Can you accept and take over the power of this Hydra branch?" "Okay." Garrett nodded wildly. His Hydra power in SHIELD is already inferior to that of one person and more than 10,000 people. Now just inherit directly. "Very good." Azu nodded. If he wanted to open a chowing company, he would need Hydra's media influence. Nothing else matters. Azu drank the milk, smacked his lips, and said intoxicatedly, "You are insects, weak and pitiful. I don't need you to do anything, but I need you not to do anything. Understand?" Garrett, "Got it." "You understand. I'm very happy," Azu said wildly as if he was drunk while drinking milk. "But some Hydras don't understand and I'm not happy. Convene a meeting of smugglers. I want to see who agrees and who opposes." The nth Hydra high-level virtual projection conference was held at S.H.I.E.L.D. The seats were packed. Garrett took Pierce's place and explained the situation. The snakeheads who were just waiting to die and lacked professionalism also bowed before their heads and shouted, "Welcome the return of the god of Hydra." The only one who dissents is the smuggler at the Sokovia base, Baron Strucker. Unlike most people who mess around, although this guy was knocked unconscious by Steve in Avengers 2, he can really jump. He sneered, "A bunch of insects. You have long forgotten the goal of Hydra. How can we conquer the world with you?" After saying that, he hung up. "Mr. Fellow Countryman," Garrett broke into a cold sweat and his lips were trembling. Unlike Serpent Shield, the Hydra in the Sokovia base is very pure, has strong soldiers and horses, and has always listened to instructions but not propaganda. Now the fellow villagers can't sneak in and behead them. You won't make him angry, right? "I will only feel sorry for you," Azu said nonchalantly. "Go and arrange some manpower. Are you going to gather troops and start a war with the Sokovia base?" Garrett wiped his sweat and spoke like a eunuch. "No, they are mainly responsible for confusing the audience, cleaning up the scene, and filming me. Remember to look cool. I want to show my dad how handsome I am, and he will be proud of me." A few hours later, Sokovia base. All forces, especially reporters and media, have been prepared in advance, but they have all become deaf and dumb. Then Garrett, who led a small team of photographers and agents, came to Azu and reported, "It's ready?" "Check again." Azu stood in the sun, still drinking milk. His whole body was shining, like an energy cannon charging up. "Be clean and be cautious. This is also my father's teaching." He took it to heart. "It's checked." Garrett came again after a while. "Everything is perfect." The constant review and confirmation gave him some confidence. "I was about to ask where to sneak in and how to behead someone." Then Azu put down the milk and his eyes turned red. Boom. The hot sight, as scarlet as blood, came out of the eyes. It spanned hundreds of meters in an instant. When it landed on the gate of the Sokovia base, the laser was already several meters thick, carrying a destructive power that seemed to destroy the world. It directly penetrated the Sokovia base and the mountain behind it. Then, Azu tilted his head and shifted his heat vision, tearing apart the mountain and its base like a cake. Boom, boom, boom. Various explosions were heard, and ammunition depots were ignited and exploded, exacerbating the destruction. Enemy attack. Damn it. Could it be SHIELD calling? No. There is only one goal. Only then did the peripheral agents react. Da-da-da. Bayubiu. The cannon rotated, the tank pressed down on the ground, and countless bullets and lasers hit Azu. The scene was spectacular, but the effect was like child's play. The yellow bullets smashed into pieces of iron, and the laser shattered like flying flowers. Azu's clothes didn't even wrinkle. Whoosh! Just by flying and landing, the wind pressure brought by him can crush the human body. Appearing like ghosts behind the two mutants, Azu stretched out his hands, made fists, and hit the mole. Boom! The violent force penetrated the air and made an explosion. This force first fell on the heads of the two mutants and then spread. Bang bang! The two mutant agents had their heads punched into their chests, then their chests exploded, and their spines and internal organs flew out. Where is Baron Strucker? Azu came to a frightened agent, and after he showed him the way, he shot a double peek into his ears and made a person into a whole person. Where is Baron Strucker? Boom. Strucker. Bang. Asking for directions while killing, like on an outing, Azu jumped to Baron Strucker. At this time, this once arrogant and rebellious man was already waving the white flag. Today, the supreme god of Hydra comes to Sokovia, which will always be loyal to him. Baron Strucker is singing the praises. Bah! When Azu saw that he was talking so much, he was afraid that it would delay him from sending a pretentious video to his father, so he immediately trampled him to death. After being out for a long time, I missed my dad. And, deep inside this base, there is actually a scarlet life form that even my own clairvoyant eyes cannot see through. He didn't make his own decision, but just called Daddy. Call your father over and show him your achievements and subordinates. If you show them off, you will definitely be praised. Don't mess around, do things carefully, and get praise +1. He earns twice. Isn't it beautiful? Chapter 8. Video sent. Well done. The official floating cloud replied in seconds. Azu smiled stupidly. Do. Immediately afterwards, Guan Fuyun called. Ask your men to come and pick me up. I haven't seen you for a long time. I miss you for being such a noob. Azu giggled crazily, almost smiling. At the same time, inside Xavier Academy for the Gifted, the bald man, Professor, he put a condom on himself, and then the spiritual power was as wide as the sea, but only as deep as a stream. It instantly enveloped the world. In the sea of consciousness as vast as stars, the old Professor X accurately located Azu. This new, immature individual, just now, destroyed Hydra's base and released many mutants. He was delighted. However, when the spiritual power really touched it, I saw corpses and killings everywhere. Why? Professor X couldn't help but sigh. Is it Eric again? He went astray. Professor, just because an individual is extraordinary or mutated does not mean that the spirit is equally powerful. Rarely do both. Just like his old friend Magneto. For decades, he never took off his helmet, and he didn't know how oily his head was. Professor Butt roll. The moment he was about to see Azu's soul window, a handsome man in a black trench coat appeared and scolded Professor X. This scene directly affects reality. Father. Azu was surprised, and then realized that it was not a real person, but a projection of Dad's mind. Someone is attacking his soul. It was his father's power that protected him. Dad is here. Dad is always here. Realize this. Ashwell was very worried. He was confident and looked around, seeing those agents who seemed to have been suspended in time. Think again about Dad's teachings. Azu suddenly understood and said politely, Charles, is that you? Fake squid. Get out. My child, you are very talented, but your temper is not very good. Hearing this, a Hydra agent beside Azu suddenly spoke. The words are full of vicissitudes of life, like a man of amazing wisdom, but it's just a likeness. Recalling his father's evaluation of Professor Charles, you are so hypocritical. With that said, Azu used his heat vision and shot the possessed agent to death. I just want to help you. Another person continued to speak, admonishing. Stop killing. Help me. Are you helping me kill, helping me become stronger, or helping me live? You can't just restrict me, discipline me, castrate my emotions, and turn me into your shape, right? Azu's mind is not mature, but he instinctively compared Guan Fuyun and Charles and could easily draw a conclusion. One is to trust him, fulfill him, and protect him wholeheartedly. One who wants to spy on him and control him without saying a word. This is not a question of which one is better or worse. But there is no one in the world who can compare with Guan Fuyun. Azu sneered. You want me not to kill people? It's simple, just don't let the ghost take over. He punched the agent to death. Why? Soon, another person came over and said seriously, Please trust me, child. I have seen too many talented mutants sink into the sea of hatred. They were not happy. So annoying. Azu killed another person and said loudly, "Do you really want to help me? Or rather, help the mutants in your eyes?" "Certainly. Can you really control the world with your mind?" "Certainly. So, may I ask, did you know this place before I appeared here? Did you help them?" "Okay, why don't you pretend to be an expert if you don't say anything?" Azu threw out a document and said, "William Stryker, this man has been conducting experiments on mutants. This is the address of his current base. Now that you know it, what will you do?" The words fell. Another Hydra agent, possessed by a ghost, came out and sighed. "I have an agreement with Millennium. They allowed Xavier's Academy for the Gifted to exist and gave the X-Men some law enforcement powers. Accordingly, I cannot use my super ability to influence or interfere with the official." Azu trampled the agent to death and crushed him, and said, "Then why are you pretending to be crazy now? You idiot." Azu was so annoyed that he complained crazily. "Speaking of Xavier Academy for Geniuses, it's even more hilarious. You take them in, you give them an education, and then what? After graduation, where do they go to work? How are they going to live? Has their position in society changed? The resources you use to support them come from the capital and family behind you. They come from exploitation, so how can you not make people hate you? Say no more. Even if you treat them as a product, if this product doesn't even have a place to sell it in the end, isn't it a waste product? The force called Magneto is getting bigger and bigger. You don't think those are wild mutants, do you?" There was silence for a long time. This time no one appeared, but a voice came from the speaker. "But even so, I am a hero. My child. You can also be a hero." Azu tore open the wall, came to the control room, killed another person with his heat vision, and then said, "My father said, you must first be a human being, and then be a hero for fun. You might be a shining superhero, but more often than not, you are more like a product, a funny product, an awkward and inconsistent product. You are not human, Charles." This time, Azu didn't hold back any longer. He looked at everyone he saw and killed them all. "And I am a person, a living and consistent person. I don't need to be a superhero, I just need to be a super son. So, you can continue your super English game. When you shine, I will applaud you like a circus performer. If you are my enemy, I will also try to kill you, or start with a dog or a bug, until I destroy Xavier Academy for Geniuses and make you howl like a wild dog whose tail has been stepped on. I'm Daddy's son. I can do whatever I want." This time, there was no response. "Because I can't respond. Xavier Academy for Geniuses, Professor as Professor X, Charles has a strong mind, but it doesn't mean it won't break the defense. For example, when Deadpool told him that the entire Marvel world was just a comic book, Charles was furious. The same is true now. Compared to Marvel, anyone in the black robe world is closer to a normal person." Chapter 9. Before coming, Guan Fuyun had thought that Azu would do great things, but I didn't expect him to be so capable. Not only did he completely subdue Hydra and become the god of Hydra, he also actually controlled most of S.H.I.E.L.D. Professor X was so angry that he vomited blood. When all this was served, the trembling Hydra agent was served. He was really shocked and couldn't help but taste it over and over again. As he walked along the way, he was given green lights, respected, and given gifts. He was really happy too. It's great to have a son. You don't have to pretend to be awesome, just enjoy it now. It's so nice. Especially, Official Fuyun made no secret of the pleasure brought by Azu. He enjoyed it all the way and came to the base laughing. Seeing this scene, Azu was even more relieved and happier than him. I felt elated on the spot. "Well done, Azu. I'm proud of you." Guan Fuyun pulled the cloak off of Azu, who was so happy that he flew up, and then rewarded him with a bucket of milk. "Thank you, Dad." Azu, the god of Hydra, drinks milk happily as if there is no one around. "Dad gave it to me, a good thing. Just eat and enjoy. If anyone looks at him strangely, it's not his problem. If you watch too much and get upset, just kill it. But you still have to be a clean person, killing people, setting fires, breaking bones, and scattering ashes all at once. Otherwise, Dad will be unhappy." Guan, Mr. Guan. Because Azu killed many Hydras, Agent Ward was also transferred. Less than a day later, he watched as the mentally retarded person he knew transformed into the god of Hydra, stepping on a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. He saw Guan Fuyun lying down and becoming the Supreme Emperor. The worldview is really in continual collapse. Think again. Compared to the Children's Channel and the moody fellow villagers, Mr. Guan, as the leading brother, is obviously more reassuring. This is the information you want. Ward was almost like a child, nodding and bowing at 90 degrees. Guan Fuyun glanced at it. The truth is true. The scarlet that Azu couldn't see through was the one. It's still some time before Avengers 2, so she shouldn't be too old. Guan Fuyun told the agents to stay away. Wanda Maximoff? Is that guy's name? Dad, do you know her? Azu asked.
Yes.
Guan Fuyun affirmed. Who is she? Azu turned into a curious baby and asked while drinking milk. Do you remember the future I told you about? Guan Fuyun confessed. She is the future Scarlet Witch, one of the most powerful people on this planet, and there's a good chance she'll be adopted by me. Hearing this, Azu was a little surprised and a little jealous and whispered softly, Are you the same as me? No, the same. I only fought tooth and nail for you. Guan Fuyun continued and sighed. Only with you can I feel like a father. There are only two of us who need each other the most. With you, I can unscrupulously reveal the future, trust and entrust you without any reservation, because you are so virtuous. Not anyone else. If I talk to them too much, I'm afraid that if they shout about bondage or justice, they will rush up and sacrifice me to heaven. Azu was puzzled and aggrieved. If this is the case, why do you still adopt others? Similar job, Guan Fuyun said seriously. In an ordinary family, the father must work very hard and make money in order to pay tuition and living expenses for his children, and we are different. Azu, you are very powerful. Even my father is envious of your strength. But there are always people in this world who are stronger. In order to prevent those people and those disasters from harming you, I must carry out adoption work and save money. Only in this way can I conjure milk, uniforms, and props out of thin air, and protect you from being controlled by others. Do you understand? This is easy to understand. Azu's eyes suddenly widened. There was a shock like an enlightenment in his eyes, the joy of disappearing doubts and grievances, and also empathy and guilt for his old father's hard work. There is also a trace of little animal-like pride and joy. Azu said happily. In other words, others are work, and we are life? It's father and son! Exclamation point. Azu was almost crazy with joy, and his mouth was twisted into a smile. Azu said sensibly, Then, let's go see Wanda. Deep in the base that cannot be discovered by any detector, this is where Wanda is. Oh, a girl wearing a white prison uniform with big dark circles under her eyes, like a red panda. He was hugging his knees, squatting and leaning in the dark corner of the cell, his little head shaking and dozing off. Although the Scarlet Witch in the future can tear apart Thanos, the purple sweet potato spirit who looks like a drugged swimmer who can't win. But now Wanda is just an unfortunate mutant girl. Her poor, inconstant mutant ability modifies probability. It can neither restore her lost family and relatives, nor save herself. He could only stay in a dark cage every day, continue high-intensity and boring training, and be scolded by researchers. Such a life is like a nightmare, bleak and dull. But today, the situation seems to have changed. First there was a noisy, sensational explosion, then a scream. After a moment of silence, there were footsteps approaching. None of this cheered up the dazed little girl, until there was a bang. The prison door was kicked open by someone, and the door panel hit the ground, stirring up dust particles as happy as elves. The unrestrained light from the incandescent lamp in the corridor made the girl unable to open her eyes for a while. She could only see the silhouette of a certain human being standing at the door. His figure seemed to be swallowed up by the white light, tall and mysterious. She was left with only an abstract silhouette, but fortunately, the silhouette became clearer and clearer. It was a handsome young man wearing a black trench coat, black hair, and black eyes. The man knelt down, touched her head, and said softly, Hello, Wanda. Hello. Where's your family? Died in an accident. Where is your brother? He was adopted by kind-hearted people. So, are you alone now?
Wanda.
Then will you come with me? Guan Fuyun stretched out his hand towards the freak. My name is Guan Fuyun. Of course, you can also call me Godfather. I can afford it. The girl was stunned for a moment, but something went wrong. She also put her hand on it. Bite. Congratulations to the host for adopting baby number 2. Wanda, reward. The farm area is expanded by 50 acres. The villa is expanded and rooms are added. Wanda's house is decorated with zinc. Chapter 10. Outside the prison. Azu, the little brat, pricked up his ears and eavesdropped the whole time. Of course the perspective is also turned on. But in his eyes, Wanda is not a cute little girl with red hair, but a ball of scarlet unknown gas. She wants to call her godfather. Only I can call you daddy. I won. He seemed to have confirmed something and breathed a sigh of relief. Her ability is to modify the probability and can't control it perfectly? Too weak. I win again. The corners of Azu's mouth rose. Dad only told her about Hydra. Nothing about Marvel, Vought, and the future. Sure enough, only I am special. Hey, hey, hey. Azu laughed out loud. There is no happiness without contrast. He is very happy now, contented, and happy again. When Wanda, who was dirty and had dark circles under her eyes, followed Guan Fuyun out, she saw a handsome blonde guy laughing like a maggot outside. This is a heavyweight, my great eldest son, Azu, Guan Fuyun said. Sworn brother, Wanda was as angry as a gossamer and her voice was soft. This time, Azu felt happy again. Now he has a young father, a cute girl, and a career outside. He is at the peak of his life. Who invented the official cloud? What a great invention. Explain. Who do you hate the most in this base? I can put them in red bean paste. They're all chug. Azu patted his chest as a sign of goodwill. Wanda? ? She was stunned again. But the future Scarlet, which was originally a sweet-tempered person, but now she is only in her teens, and she does not insist on kindness or justice. Him. It start ordering troops and generals directly. Whoever he clicked on, Azu's heat vision would pass by in the next second, and he would be burned. Thank you, bro. Wanda is so cute. It was okay that she didn't speak, but when she spoke, she was so cute and full of emotional value that Azu almost killed her. He likes this feeling of being useful the most. After a bloodbath, Garrett and Ward were ordered to integrate Hydra, mainly to purify the power in the media field. Azu took Guan Fuyun with him, and Guan Fuyun held Xiao Wanda in his arms. The three flew back to New York, and once again entered the city. It's different from Azu, who was okay and relieved to have him by his side. At Wanda's age, she should still be sent to school to be nurtured and nurtured. But the schools in Millennium are very particular. The first is admission. The main focus is a system of filial piety and integrity and a recommendation letter system. If you don't know someone, I'm sorry, but my phone is out of gas and there are not enough places. Do you want to know more about American human relations? The police station has violation exemption cards sold directly, and officials can openly collect money. Even Hawking has to go to the island, and even 1,500-year-old Thor has to pour wine for Steve. What a genius. Then there are the quality of teachers and school atmosphere. The teacher's background and experience must be investigated. If there is a Democratic Party resume, they will be eliminated directly. For example, Musk's eldest son, because he was bewitched by his teacher, performed surgery on himself, took drugs, and changed his gender. According to the laws of the United States, similar to multiple transformations and gender breakthroughs, children can operate by themselves without the consent of a guardian. On the contrary, if the guardian objects or obstructs, the official can deprive the guardianship of the guardianship. The main thing is an abstraction. There is only one indicator of campus atmosphere, and that is the frequency of shootings. The less shooting, the better the atmosphere. Pretty intuitive, right? As for what textbooks are expensive, tuition fees are sky-high, bulletproof school bags, they are all trivial matters. Guan Fuyun can't even handle these small things. At this moment, he was like an embarrassed father in the village who turned into a country bumpkin in the city. He encountered obstacles everywhere and became stupid. Dad, don't worry, I'll call Hydra right away. Dad, don't worry, I will arrange for the best school. Customized teachers and the best teaching materials will be ordered. Special cars will be sent to you and bodyguards will accompany you. Dad, please wait here while I go and kill the person who just scolded you. I want foreigners to die. So, Azu started to show off again. Guan Fuyun nodded at his son with a look of relief on his face. Wanda looked at him with admiration. The expressions, psychology, and eyes of the two people were like a supremely delicious feast to Azu. He was busy, and his heart was filled with a kind of happiness called fulfillment and solidity. Guan Fuyun is just enjoying it. He took Wanda in hand and bought some school bags and stationery. At this time, on the street, a joker came pushing a small truck filled with shiny ragdolls. It just looks cute. Guan Fuyun looked at little Wanda. The Joker toy car was coming from the left, but Wanda stubbornly looked straight to the right. But there is only one gun shop on the right. How could a teenage girl not be interested in those Bueling toys, even though she has been detained and imprisoned? But she is stubborn. This kind of stubbornness belongs to children from poor families, and also to children who are not loved. Its name is inferiority and self-consciousness. But people often like to use a complimentary tone and say that it is sensible. Azu. Guan Fuyun stopped. Father. Azu was always on call, with an excited face that said, "Command me quickly, rely on me, and then praise me. Buy that cart of toys. I want to play with them," Guan Fuyun said naturally. Wanda! Exclamation point. Her eyes widened in shock, and she looked at Azu quietly. But I saw that Azu, who was the most enthusiastic about swordsmanship in the family, didn't feel strange at all. He happily paid and carried the truck over. Dad, what else do you want to play? He wasn't even done yet. Seeing the anticipation, envy, and adoration in Wanda's eyes, Azu pinched a doll and gave it to her. Let's play with it. Thank you, brother. Wanda smiled broadly and said, Thank you, Godfather. As if she had found a treasure, she hugged the doll and murmured in a low voice. But Azu has super hearing. If I have a family, I won't be arrested again. I can go to school, make friends, and play with dolls. I also have super abilities. When I become more powerful, no one will dare to arrest me, nor can I arrest my godfather or Azu. I don't want to be locked up and beaten and scolded without training. Azu edited what he heard into text and sent it to Guan Fuyun, then asked, Dad, are we pitiful? Is it a mistake to be different? Guan Fuyun replied, It's not you who are wrong, it's the world. This world was originally a ridiculous and hopeless huge entertainment industry. No need to have expectations for it. Just please yourself. Whoever thinks you are pitiful, or laughs at you, uses you, or deceives you, just kill him. No need to worry. Seeing these replies, Azu was stunned, and then laughed happily. Guan Fuyun smiled. Question mark. Wanda didn't know what they were laughing at, but she smiled gregariously. She thought this scene was beautiful. Bite. Baby number 2 Wanda. Her gratitude level has increased. 60%, 80%. Chapter 11. The superheroes are busy fighting monsters and showing off, while Guan Fuyun is busy making firewood, rice, oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, and tea. School arrangements were made, and a lot of toys and stationery were purchased with Dale. He led Azu and Wanda back to the farm, then plunged into the kitchen and started cooking on the fire, with smoke curling up. Crack! At the position of the stove hole, Wanda sat with a small one, transforming into a girl adding firewood. She put her chin with one hand, as if she was in a daze. It's also like it's unbelievable, surprised that I can live such a daily life. Sometimes she really suspected that she was in a dream. But those books, school bags, stationery, those registration documents, those toys, and the busy official clouds in front of me, and the delicious aroma that hits your face, they're all like bastards. Wanda's dream was tightly tied and bitten to death, preventing her current satisfaction and happiness from being shattered. Good. Looking at the mushroom chicken soup gurgling in the pot, there are also steaming rice, shiny fried bacon, sweet and sour pork ribs, fried potatoes, dipped in water, and a plate of green vegetables that are already on the table. Guan Fuyun smiled. Anything to eat. He has to breed and plant them himself, or buy them from the system store. This way we can ensure that we won't be disgusted by malicious. Super serums like these can be easily obtained now. For example, Azu offered him a treasure, but Guan Fuyun refused. It is true that comics and movies have shown countless times that this thing is useful and harmless. But I really live in America. Learn about biochemical experiments, nuclear pollution, blood pollution, lead water pipe pollution, medical pollution. He really didn't want to give himself a needle. Genes are at odds. Dad, look at this, it's a bright square. But Azu's filial piety goes beyond the super serum and the tesseract. After integrating the power of Hydra and learning that there is such a treasure, Azu didn't even think about it and brought it directly to Guan Fuyun. Don't tell me yet. This official Fuyun really needs it. After all, he is invincible, but he is just an old father who cannot fly. Now with Tesseract, you can teleport anytime and anywhere, and it is much more convenient to take Wanda to and from school. As for the braised eggs, leave it alone. Luodan's greatest ability is that he can work undercover in the Snake and Shield Bureau and become the director. Except, to comment politely, braised egg is a blind person, a deaf person, a waste, a burden, and a scourge. If there is no chowing point related to the incident, he would never find out that the Tesseract was gone. Say it again. So what if I discovered it? Even if Lu Dan calls out Aunt Surprise in anger, Guan Fuyun can reduce Ant's surprise to the level of an ordinary person and beat her to tears. His true immortality is the strongest and most invincible shield, and Azu will become the sharpest spear. The two can even combine their skills and let Azu carry him to hit people, and whoever comes will die. It's just that this move is too shocking. Not easy to use. As for Wanda, Wanda is so cute. But speaking of Tesseract, it is also a space gem. As one of the 6 singularities that contained infinite energy before the Big Bang, it is not only part of the rules of the universe, but also the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe. Also exposed to Tesseract, Loki could only open and close doors, while Aunt Marvel, with the help of the light speed engine, almost had an epiphany and directly mastered part of the power of the rules of the universe. This is why she can defeat Thanos with a single gem or no gems. It's a pity. In this regard, Guan Fuyun doesn't have much talent and is only a little better than Loki. Speaking of which, Azu is the most suitable for the power gem. Wanda fits the reality stone. However, the reality gem is the most buggy. It is too powerful and needs the assistance of other gems. The mind gem and soul gem are very good. As an old father, Guan Fuyun can't help but think about and plan for his children's future. He knows the plot, and it is not difficult to capture the gems. But before that, we need to train the children more and add a few more entries. For example, Azu, who has sunshine and spiritual support, is no worse than Thanos. Not to mention Wanda. If she was pushed too hard, Thanos' skull would be split open and his scalp would be torn off and turned into shoes. But this is not stable enough. Guan Fuyun browsed the system store and soon had a goal. He spent a huge sum of 1,800 points to buy special bracelets for himself, Azu, and Wanda. The bracelets can communicate and connect with each other, and are not affected by the network, signals, or even space and dimensions. The bracelets can position each other. The bracelet also has a 50 square meter space for storage. For Guan Fuyun, this way he doesn't have to hold the Tesseract. You can teleport as you please. Protect the children. Thank you, Dad. Azu was pleasantly surprised. With his father's magic props, the first thing he considered was to put a nuclear bomb, an ignition device, and milk in the bracelet. The old 6th-rate wretched Azu is so terrifying. Thank you, Godfather. Wanda happily filled the bracelet with toys and books. Let's eat. Today is also a day of progress, and Guan Fuyun is in a beautiful mood. But pick up the bowls and chopsticks. Only then did he discover a problem. That is, he was different from himself and Azu. The new Wanda doesn't know how to use chopsticks yet. But the girl from Tianchai is very stubborn and doesn't speak much. Her eyes widened, and she watched blankly as Guan Fuyun skillfully picked up the chopsticks and started to pick up the food. She was thoughtful, and soon entered a state where her mind thought that I knew it. Then I mustered up the courage, picked up the chopsticks, and tried to pick up the vegetables. Picked up a fungus and dropped it. Picked up another piece of chicken and dropped it again. She didn't speak, and Guan Fuyun didn't speak either. He was happy to watch her trying hard while eating. He saw Wanda staring at the chopsticks with her big brown-gray eyes, unblinking, and started doing it again slowly. Then, like the claw machine, it got up and fell again. Ah ha ha. On the side, Azu smiled so much that he rolled on the ground. Guan Fuyun was also suppressing a smile, but suddenly the light in front of his eyes began to distort. The Winter Soldier's iron arm he placed in the kitchen actually turned into Bucky. Then Steve Rogers also appeared. He hugged Bucky's body and cried, "Bucky, Bucky, how can I live without you? Why did you just keep one hand?" Guan Fuyun? Question mark. He got up and saw a will-o-wisp parked outside the house. The robot Vision had yellow hair and said, "Lao Ding, I'll take Wanda away." Guan Fuyun. He even saw Azu doing Subject 3. Oh shit. This is not against the law at all. It seems like something Azu can do. Guan Fuyun came to the stove and took a closer look. Sure enough, he had eaten the wrong mushroom. Longevity. It's all Azu's fault for distracting him with the Tesseract. These two people, one is compound number 5, and the other is a mutant. Both have Superman-like physiques. Of course there will be no problem eating it. But he is an ordinary person. There are many solutions. The simplest one is as long as he subjectively believes that fungus poisoning is an attack and injury. Naturally, it can trigger true immortality. But there's nothing wrong with the fungus. It was my fault. I just didn't cook it well enough. Guan Fuyun said decisively, because his expression was so resolute, and even his back standing in front of the stove looked arbitrary. Wanda whispered, "What is the Godfather talking about?" Azu smiled and pulled away. I don't know, hurry up and eat. As long as we act more naturally, Dad won't be too embarrassed. No, Dad. Why did you run out? Don't talk to pigs. Chickens can't dance or play basketball. Stop playing. Chapter 12. Human beings are destined to die in society, either today or tomorrow. After fungus poisoning, Guan Fuyun was stunned. He called Beiji to the pigs, Brother Kuan to the chickens, and when he caught a passing owl-headed cat, he said, "Hey, isn't this a blue lion spirit? Are you back from Paris?" This unrestrained scene. But Azu was so happy that he tried his best to take advantage of the situation and also followed behind to record the video. At this moment, Wanda seemed to be the only adult in the family, continuing her career. Continue to practice eating with chopsticks. The next day, Guan Fuyun opened his eyes as if he had had a dream, and he was still very embarrassed after waking up a long time ago. Think of visions and hallucinations. He went directly to Blast Azu's Dao Lu, asked for a black card, handed it to Wanda and said, "Spend it as you like. Buy whatever doll you want. Girls just have to be cute, don't like robots or anything like that." Repeatedly exhorted and emphasized back and forth. Make sure Wanda remembers. He just sent the little witch to campus, a very prestigious private university, and it was full of ordinary people. There was no Peter Parker, no Green Goblin, and no other mess. The purity is very high. Done. Guan Fuyun went to steal Azu's video recorder memory card again. Discovered by Azu. The two of them just had a scuffle, and both of them were laughing. "Dad, stop making trouble." Azu looked serious and said, "I have been thinking about life recently and came to a conclusion. Tell me about it." Guan Fuyun rolled his eyes, and when Azu thought about it, God laughed. Azu said with a straight face, "I found out. The mission of the American soldiers is to grab oil, bomb the weak, embezzle military expenditures, and pretend to be awesome. Doctors are experimenting on patients. A president is practicing walking upright, and a president is practicing dodging bullets. Every profession has its own reason for existence and value. But there are no superheroes. All superheroes in New York City are amateurs. They became heroes because of interest, hatred, chance. But no one told them what they should do or how to do it. No one is paying them either. A superhero is as poor and homeless as a homeless man, and is even slandered and hated. This is simply unbelievable. A true knight and punisher would be restricted and stretched everywhere. This also goes against common sense." Guan Fuyun. He fell into silence, never expecting that Azu actually had a brain and possessed astonishing wisdom. He said, "So, you want to give superheroes value?" "No, Dad." Azu shook his head, like a naughty child, and said nonchalantly, "Superheroes are still themselves, and their value is determined by themselves. I just want to make a platform, similar to Vought, and the purpose of what I do is not to save the world, love, and justice. I just want to prove myself in front of Dad, and I also want to make Dad less boring. After all, for an omniscient being like Dad, if he encounters something unexpected, he should find it interesting, right? Dad is a fun person, right?" Guan Fuyun smiled. Azu continued, "As a platform, my company should not have good or evil attributes, whether it's a superhero or a super criminal. If you can cooperate, I welcome it. If you can't cooperate, it doesn't matter to me. If they are enemies, kill them. I can do whatever I want. Anyway, even if the company goes bankrupt or fails, Dad will always be there, right?" Guan Fuyun affirmed, "It is necessary." Azu giggled, took out the milk from his bracelet, drank the milk and said, "It's a deal. It's a deal." Guan Fuyun was extremely pleased. "I will always be your strongest support." In a sense, Vought and the Marvel world are really complementary. Azu's slightly naive thoughts. For those brainless superheroes, this is already very advanced. Fast forward to Brother Thanos works really hard. Hey, you are not allowed to say bad things about him. You just turned into ashes. Thanos lost his daughter. Just thinking about it makes me feel sick. Guan Fuyun thought, "Although your company is just a blueprint now, I believe it will shock the whole world. Before this, I want to prepare a gift for you. A real trump card and a killer weapon. There is a very classic case of debate. Wolverine versus Homelander. What is the outcome? Hard to say. But there is no doubt that adamantium is sharp and powerful. In Guan Fuyun's eyes, adamantium is far more useful than vibranium after being weaponized, and it is a Marvel equipment that can truly be used for a lifetime. So, what if Azu, who is able to hide and attack secretly, is equipped with an adamantium sword. This time it's not just as simple as abusing food. Zhu Bao is carrying a knife, which can cut over the couplets and open a ladle of purple sweet potato essence. After Azu became the god of Hydra, in fact, the entire Hydra also served Guan Fuyun, and begging to serve him. Therefore, he specifically learned about mutants. It was discovered that the mutant system was a mess to begin with, and the plot and timeline were extremely confusing as the mutant system was constantly restarting. For example, Wanda was imprisoned in the base, but Quicksilver appeared in Xavier Academy for Geniuses. Very mixed. It is no longer possible to connect them using the timeline. It can only be said that the Sentry Crisis has not yet appeared, the Apocalypse has not yet been unearthed, and the Phoenix Girl has not yet blackened. Likewise, Wolverine is still living in seclusion in the deep mountains and forests of Canada, and he has not gone to Little Japan. Doesn't this give Azu a chance? After decades of accumulation, Yashida Industrial's adamantium, especially the cutting technology that heats alloys. Guan Fuyun has already made a reservation for his eldest son. Big killer weapon? What is it, Dad? I want it now. Azu couldn't bear it any longer and immediately became excited. Look, I'm in a hurry. Guan Fuyun stood up, and the Tesseract's light lit up on his bracelet, opening the space portal. A step away from the opposite side. It is the kingdom of Little Japan, the core area of influence of the Yashida family. This time, we act together. Guan Fuyun warmed up, played with the firearm and said, "Have fun, Zhu Bao." "Okay, Dad." Azu smiled ferociously and floated into the air, with his feet on the ground and his eyes filled with scarlet light. It's the long-awaited father and son fighting side by side. He is very happy. Chapter 13. Marvel World, Little Japan. The Yashida family. Magnificent. The things that live here almost represent the pinnacle of power in the Little Japan kingdom. After experiencing World War II and the two-level hegemony, from the beginning, I was plundering from the front, and later I was stuffed by militia. In the small country of Japan, I have developed myself into a fat and white bloodbag. Although militia keeps sucking blood and breaking bones and extracting marrow, it can only affect ordinary people. For the Yashida family, it owns 70 to 80% of the industries of Little Japan, owns almost all the media, and controls most of the gangs. They are at their peak. The head of the Yashida family, the criminal who escaped the war trial, is the son in their minds. Now, this son is old. It will burn out in a few years. In the Yashida family, the fight for power and profit is almost breaking out, and everyone's nerves are tense. Whenever there is any disturbance, they will immediately become stressed. Such as now, the illusory portal, as deep as the starry sky, suddenly opened, and a man wearing a black windbreaker walked out, and a floating, wild, Hydra god. Also in the underground world, the Yashida family naturally knows about Hydra. In fact, among the famous people in the world, only Liu Dan does not know about it. The god of Hydra was originally a legend within Hydra and was said to be an alien. But now, this title is well-deserved and belongs to fellow countrymen. Why is he here? At this moment, every warrior and gunman in the Yashida family raised their heads, their eyes swaying, and they were panicked. The feeling of suffocation spreads. Don't move. The head of the Yashida family, Ichiro Yashida, appeared in a wheelchair, like an old dog with a hoarse voice and spots. "Hey, I hate it when people point a gun at my head." Azu put his hands on his hips and spoke, with a bright and cheerful smile on his face. Like a big kid going for a walk with his parents. Boom. But his heat vision was ferocious and savage. Every time he flashed it, a row of people were cut open and cut in half. Boom, boom, boom. As if to show off in front of Guan Fuyun, Azu deliberately slowed down his movements and restrained the power of the laser. Let those people crack, but not die directly. Can still climb a little longer. Finish these. Azu turned to look at Guan Fuyun, as if a little kid had torn off the wings of a butterfly, and then looked at his parents with a proud look on his face. Usually this kind of person deserves a slap in the face. Well done. But the current situation is obviously unusual, and Guan Fuyun only finds it pleasing to the eye. His pleasant expression, his gaze, his words of praise. It made Azu feel so happy that he was electrocuted all over. "Hello, Lord God of Hydra, or I may call you Mr. Fellow Countryman." There were people crawling on the ground, including his own son. Yashida Ichiro seemed to be invisible, and he tried his best to force out a fairly anthropomorphic smile. He fawned desperately. Did the Yashida family do something wrong? We can change it. You can fly. You are almost a god. Give me a chance. We just want to be your dog. Facing Wolverine, Yashida Ichiro can calculate and capture. Because Wolverine's skin can be broken with bullets, and because Wolverine himself can be anesthetized with drugs. Because he also has mutants under his command. He has carefully studied Wolverine, the almost immortal monster, and experienced the Civil War. At that time, it had been proven that Wolverine could be suppressed by numbers. So Yashida Ichiro is not afraid of Wolverine. But fellow countrymen are different. Very different. His skin is harder than diamond, his flying speed is exactly Mach movement, and his heat sight can directly evaporate people. During the battle at the Sokovia base, Hydra used all their means and equipped themselves with all weapons except nuclear weapons. As a result, even the fellow villagers' clothes were not broken. This is the result of him standing still, pretending to be cool with a very neutral posture, and embracing all the bullets and firepower. If it were a real fight, what would the Yashida family use to attack a man of steel who could move at high speed and kill people like chickens? Yashida Ichiro's lifelong research and hope, those adamantium, that silver warrior, are only half-finished products now. He can't stand up to fellow countrymen at all. So, even if so many people were killed for no reason, Yashida Ichiro could only laugh, act like a dog, and be a slave. No, no, no. There has never been any god. The only one standing in the sky is me. Azu's eyes were red, and he drank milk drunk alone. The only one who can make me obedient is Dad, said. Azu looked at Guan Fuyun. Bayubiu. Guan Fuyun was shooting and shooting, but it was obvious that he was not an American who had been fighting guns since he was a child. His marksmanship is terrible. Whoosh. So Azu flew back and forth at low altitude, catching 1 or 2 people each time, and then slipped under Guan Fuyun's gun. I don't know if this counts as self-aiming. Bang! Guan Fuyun finally made a perfect shot. He blew on the hot barrel. This feeling was really unpleasant. Azu, my treasure, you are the best. Of course, Dad. I am a great boy born of your hard work. The more they looked at each other, the more they liked each other, and the more they chatted, the happier they became. A fellow countryman's dad? It wasn't until this moment that Yashida Ichiro noticed Guan Fuyun, who looked like an ordinary person. He was surprised, he was shocked, and his eyes lit up. There is a father and family ties. It can be used and controlled. Looking at it this way, it seems that the fellow villagers are not invincible. Yashida Ichiro gave orders with a look, and someone immediately grabbed Mariko. He smiled apologetically and said, "Father of fellow countrymen, this is our gift to you." The captured Mariko was still struggling and her eyes were red. I felt pity for him and begged like a puppy, "Let us go." This scene was full of positive words. Many samurai of the Yashida family could not accept it, but they did not dare to raise their guns. Can only go crazy and commit seppuku. You really know how to be a dog. Both old and young are the same. Guan Fuyun stepped forward and patted Mariko on the face with his firearm. Why don't you bark a few times to add to the fun? Yashida Ichiro quickly apologized and smiled. Woof, woof, woof. Mariko. Wow. She only barked once, and then she started moving with a sudden movement. Her movements were pleasing to the eye, and her skills were like a ninja plus samurai. First, he controlled Guan Fuyun with a stranglehold, aimed his shuriken at Guan Fuyun's throat, and then ordered Azu, back off. Azu just drank milk and ignored her. At the same time, Guan Fuyun chuckled with a calm expression. After being controlled, true immortality was triggered, and his body gradually faded, and each cell was like fine sand in the wind, separating and reorganizing. That's all. Like The Shining, he is performing frame extraction plus frame drop operations in the real world. No one can stop it. The handsome figure wearing a black trench coat and a bracelet appeared on the other side. Moment. Everything was silent. Everyone was stunned. Finally knowing why he is the father of a fellow villager, he has sudden realization, despair, loss, shock, all kinds of wonderful expressions, presented in multiple ways. Chapter 14. Bang! Killed on the spot. True immortality is pretty good. The good thing is that he can enjoy the bonuses brought by various firearms and thermal weapons as he wishes. Even Gatling and tank main guns can be fired handheld. Have fun outputting. Da-da-da. Bayubiu. One fires, one red ice. Wherever it passes, it will be bruised and bruised. It is powerful and fierce, and there is no reason for it. If you're not a superhero, why do you need a virgin? Especially in the world of American comics. If a superhero is really a hunk from heaven, the first thing he should do is the editorial department instead of allowing the soil that breeds evil to exist. For example, Thaddeus Ross, the leader of the Hulk capture team. It turns out that he gave birth to the Hulk and Abomination. He is a guy that people hate dogs. But he caused such a big stir that Abomination started killing people randomly in the center of New York City. In the end, he had to borrow Hulk's power to manage it. Even Hulk ran away. It left a raw question mark in everyone's heart. For this kind of thing, 3 days and 3 nights of shooting is too little. As a result, not only did he have nothing to do, but he also rose to prominence. In this context, any superhero who shouts, "Justice, Bond," then cooperates with Snake and S.H.I.E.L.D., signs various agreements, and becomes an Avenger. They all have a sense of nondescript comedy packaged by what company? Fight them. Come together. Even the fellow countryman and his father have their limits. Their physical strength will be exhausted before they kill all of us. Yashida Ichiro's shouts became louder and louder, and his wheelchair moved further and further back. He is on the run. Escape to his secret factory. Guan Fuyun and Azu drove away slowly. Around, each of the dwarfs howled desperately, cheering themselves up, then tremblingly raised their firearms, held their shurikens, and some were even using crossbows. A wide variety of weapons appeared in a hodgepodge. Thousands of artillery fire, guns fired, roaring into the sky. Yes, these are used to deal with Guan Fuyun. According to observation, he does not have a body of steel like Azu. So, can he be defeated? Boom, boom, boom. The torrent of metal roared, and heavy bullets whirled and hit Guan Fuyun. Even a mountain would be flattened by the firepower. But he is not a mountain. He is immortal. Nor was he a newbie when he first arrived. Subjective diffusion plus passive triggering. Under the effect of true immortality, Guan Fuyun is the only eternity present. When bullets hit Azu, one of them would break like an egg or a stone. The bullets hitting Guan Fuyun were like a game. All the throwing objects and explosives were set to terminate the moment they approached Guan Fuyun. Ding, 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 ding. The bullets and cannonballs that had all the beards and tails fell to the ground, just when the dwarfs were wondering whether they had expired. Guan Fuyun actually picked up the cannonball and threw it back. Bang, 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 boom. Explode. There are explosions everywhere. Among the smoke and ashes that were thick with blood stains, Guan Fuyun walked out and slowly changed his firearm. Spotless. Hateful. Don't underestimate the bond between me and the Silver Warrior. 8 duck meats. In the distance, a medical miracle appeared, and Yashida Ichiro stood up from his wheelchair. He climbed into the half-finished Silver Warrior made by adamantium, looking crazy, and activated the mecha. The long silver knife vibrated out, trying to kill the god. Then he was caught by Guan Fuyun. Like catching a little chicken. What is sharp and sharp? What does not change after it is formed? Are all a joke in front of the true immortal. He pushed the Silver Samurai and Yashida Ichiro into the factory and came to the place where countless gears meshed and countless molten iron poured. Then he just put himself in it, using his hand as a hammer and knocking. At first it was just a few palm prints, but soon, the Silver Warrior was knocked flat. Chapter 15. 9 hours later. Call. Guan Fuyun, sweating profusely and breathing heavily, walked out carrying 2 knives. A knife is as long as Thanos stands, as wide as Thanos' shoulders, and as thick as Thanos' chin. The spine is thick, the blade is thin, and the handle is integrated, indestructible and unstoppable. It seems that it was tempered with the blood of the entire Yashida family. Although the blade is silvery white and bright in color, there is a line of scarlet on the spine. The other knife is an adamantium kitchen knife made from scraps. The big one is for Azu. Reward yourself with small rewards. The old father is like this. He is always reluctant to give up and wants the best, and has to endure all kinds of hardships in raising children. Dad, drink water and rest. Azu felt sorry for his old father, serving him tea and water, squeezing his shoulders and patting his back. Wait for the official floating cloud to calm down. He just picked up his alloy knife. Well, it was quite heavy. Even with Azu's super strength, he feels that it is not light. You can imagine how much adamantium content is in this knife. The knife was lying flat, and nothing happened. But once it stands up, it cuts through the cement, the earth, and the rock formations like tofu, with a beauty that goes straight to the center of the earth. Azu looked so surprised that he even forgot to drink the milk. He immediately understood the importance of this knife. Its unparalleled sharpness, coupled with his super strength, mock flight, and despicable sneak attack. Wouldn't that be invincible? Qingbing and Yakai have heat vision. And this knife is specially used to kill strong men and clear obstacles. Marvelous. So precious. Dad's gifts are always so thoughtful and special that he can't put them down. But Wanda doesn't. Azu was crazily moved in his heart. I also took the time to compare them, and then I became even happier. He giggled and wrapped strips of cloth and chains around the handle of the knife to increase the feel, and then he picked up the knife and was eager to try it. Try warming the knife with your heat vision, Guan Fuyun said. Buzz. Azu didn't hesitate at all and just obeyed. Then, as the heat vision heated up, the scarlet color on the spine of the knife spread, and the blade and blade were all a hot red. Generally, metal will soften after being heated. But adamantium, on the contrary, does not deform due to temperature. The hotter the knife, the faster it will be. A wolf's claws can be cut off. Wow. Great, Dad. Can I go out and play with knives? When Azu sent out the application, Little Bai Zai liked to ask this question to show that he was well behaved. As long as you're happy. Guan Fuyun agreed to the application. He was reassured. Because it is different from the superheroes in the Marvel series. Azu's lower limit is extremely high and extremely stable. For example, Wolverine would be pierced by arrows and knocked unconscious by anesthesia, but if it were Azu, his skin wouldn't even break. Another example is the alien Thor. Thor is said to be able to stun people with a stun gun. After losing the hammer that no man can do anything about, he becomes worse than a dog. There is also the speedster Quicksilver who can be killed by bullets. They're all weird. But Azu won't have such troubles. After all, there is no Maeve here to pick his ears. He only needs to use heat vision to determine whether the opponent is a soldier. Yes, instant kill. No, suddenly took out the alloy knife from the bracelet and chopped off their heads. That's it. This set can take away 99% of the characters on this planet. 100 miles left. Wanda is already one of her own. Although the Ancient One mage is awesome, he only cares about his own affairs. When he gets old, he has already become a fisherman. Then there are the guys who are sealed and in various damaged states, and some protagonists who haven't grown up yet. It is impossible to meet them in Zairigwo. Whoosh! Wearing a battle suit, carrying a knife, and galloping around Tokyo. Azu was excited and happy. He heated the knife with his heat vision, and then slashed hard. The hot blade penetrated the air and advanced layer by layer, forming something like sword energy. Swish, swish, swish. Swords and lights intersected, buildings collapsed, glass fragments fell like snow, cars hit the road, smoke billowed, and people ran away holding their heads. The city, like a steel jungle, has really turned into a crisis-ridden jungle at this moment. What happened? Are you kidding me about special photography? Where's a ottoman? Please help. Chaos is everywhere, and mourning is everywhere. And, because the infrastructure was playfully chopped up, looking from the sky, the entire city of Tokyo, from far to near, seemed to be spreading like cancer cells, falling into darkness and chaos. The elevator is stuck, the network is down, and the equipment is shut down. What's even scarier is, those inexplicable sword lights are still appearing, like invisible hurricanes, like invisible earthquakes, like volcanic eruptions from different dimensions. Wherever he passed, buildings were shattered. Honking cars cracked, street lamps fell smoothly, and people disappeared. Disaster. The world-ending disaster has arrived. Just because of Azu's whim. The city is on the verge of collapse. But that's not surprising at Marvel. After being polished and processed by Hydra, the report submitted to Liu Dan only said, "Earthquake. Many people died. It's gone." Luodan didn't care. Nowadays, extraordinary things are rampant. Cities are destroyed every day. Everyone is in dire straits. No one is an exception. He was even a little surprised. SHIELD's work efficiency seemed to be much higher today. If you mess with fake, I can still manage it. Luodan smiled happily. He lowered his head and looked at the other two reports. One is about Guan Fuyun. The report written by Coulson said that it was determined that he was not the person to be found. One is a personal letter from Professor X of Xavier Academy for Geniuses, saying that the X-Men are willing to cooperate with S.H.I.E.L.D. The condition is that Liu Dan uses his power to force William Stryker to give up experiments with mutants and release mutants. Okay. The second report made Liu Dan smile. He was already short of manpower, and he had been coveting the X-Men for a long time. It wouldn't be a problem to pressure the warlords for this. After all, William Stryker's tricks are all children's tricks. Milligan's in-depth research and Sentry Project are the highlight. If the X-Men are willing to give up their independence and be recruited, It is not a problem that the Sentry project is temporarily shelved. This is really good news. Commander Fury, Tony has analyzed the isotope of Tesseract and solved his short-lived problem. He responded and said he was interested in the Avengers project. Black Widow Natasha Romanoff called with another good news. This one is even more heavyweight. Luodan recognized Tony's intelligence and creativity. The arrival of Iron Man will make his SHIELD even more prosperous. But after the good news is processed, other news will follow. About Captain America. No one could have imagined that there would be two American captains. One of them, Steve Rogers, had already met Luodan and successfully calmed the old man's emotions. It can be considered a successful recruitment. He also saw another boy who was wearing his feet. We both use S.H.I.E.L.D., but the difference in strength is so outrageous. Compared to Steve, the S*******Y boy is more like a soldier. Luodan had a hunch that the Foot boy would become one of his trump cards. So, he personally took part in the whole process, personally made files, deleted records, and hid the Footy boy in his secret base. Compared to Steve, who wants to act with emotion and reason. It's easier to deal with the S******Y boy. You just need to smoke and drink, have good food and drinks, be well served, and agree to help him get revenge. The reason why it is not exposed. It was because Luodan was afraid that the two captains would fight. For now, Iron Man and Steve are enough. Use them to form a new Hulk capture team. Chapter 16. Iron Man, Steve, Natasha Romanoff, and Professor X, Cyclops, and Storm. These are the members of the new Hulk capture team. Would Natasha Romanoff be too weak in there? Luodan muttered to himself. It is true that supernatural beings are everywhere in the world, causing disasters, and accidents happen every day. But the problem is that accidents also have priorities. For example, William Stryker was just a colonel. Luodan cut off his resources and stopped his experiments with just one sentence. The mutants were released. Won the recognition of Professor X. Another example is Thaddeus Ross. This is a general, and not an ordinary general. If not for the Abomination vs. Hulk brawl in New York, Ross even hopes to become president of America. Even if such a bad incident occurs, leading to reputation 1-1-1-1, Ross still has his default position as Secretary of State. This is already the fourth position of Milliken's supreme authority. It is also the lowest standard that Ross and the interest groups behind him can tolerate. Any lower, and it will explode. In order to restore his reputation and strive for progress, the Ross Group, officials, businessmen, and the military put too much pressure on Luodan and gave him a death order. This is why he has been looking for that man. He can block hatred. Naturally, it can also block Hulk. With his help, the capture can be said to be almost certain. Now it can only be regarded as 7 out of 10, or even 6 out of 10. So, Luodan plans to ask one by one to see if they are reliable. He called Steve first, and the video call was connected. Steve was remembering Bucky at the cemetery, drinking alone and drunk. Braised egg. Captain. Fury. Do you have any suggestions regarding the operation to capture Hulk? My advice is to act. What are the specifics? I could fight it all day. Luodan was silent. Now Steve is still in a very new state that has just been unearthed. He can't even use electronic equipment. In his opinion, Hulk, the mutated Hulk caused by gamma radiation, is probably similar to him who was injected with super serum. Fury? It's okay, Captain. Keep crying, Bucky. Braised Eggs then contacted Natasha Romanoff. Then no contact was made. Braised Egg Pain Mask, the one-eyed one, almost grew out of anger, and he contacted Professor X, Cyclops, and Storm. Result. Can't be contacted either. Professor Cyclops is busy dating Phoenix. Where Storm is, it's either thundering or raining, and the signal is not good. No, you. Luodan covered his chest. He finally figured it out. All of these people were talented and had unique skills. He almost gave up hope and called Tony shit. The video call is connected. You want to ask me about my plan to capture Hulk? Tony looked relaxed and said as he expected. I have already made anti-Hulk armor, spiced corned egg. Sitting up in shock while dying of illness, Luodan almost called him daddy. He smiled and said, It has to be you. Teacher Tony. Stark Industrial Building. Top. Is anti-Hulk armor enough? Tony was thinking. I don't know why, but I feel more and more insecure lately. What's going on? He pulled up a video from a month ago. Repeat top frame. Stare at the man in the picture and the little boy protected by him. I have to say, this photo is very handsome. The light, the angle, the hatred behind him, the screaming crowd around him, and that indestructible back. The composition even somewhat understands the flavor of Wong's assassination, especially as Hulk continues to appear, heading towards British Columbia, causing more and more sensations. This picture is also spreading more and more widely. The whole world is calling for that man. But the whole world doesn't know who he is or what he looks like. The whole world knows that little boy, but no one can be found in the whole world. This is weird, full of extraordinary flavor. Hello? Coulson, yes, I am now a SHIELD consultant. Please send me the information on the investigation of the man in black. Tony contacted Coulson and asked for the information. He compared them one by one, and was suddenly startled when he saw the combination of Guan Fuyun and Azu. Like an apple hitting Newton. The inspiration of genius comes so unreasonably. Jarvis, I am here. Simulate what the little boy in the first photo will look like when he grows up. Okay. A virtual light curtain appears, and data deduction is like archaeological restoration or character generation. A little boy with blonde hair and blue eyes, his face covered in blood. Finally, he turned into a sunny and cheerful Azu. He has always been by Guan Fuyun's side. Exclamation point. Tony's eyes suddenly widened with disbelief on his face. When solving problems and getting different answers from the professor, when putting on the iron shell for the first time, when analyzing the tesseract isotope, he all had similar expressions. But that is often thoughtless, arrogant, and complacent. It's different now, totally shocked now, because unlike the enemies of the Hulk, Abomination, and Iron Man, no matter how powerful they are, they still have to learn basic physics, or develop more powerful steel armor to deal with it. If that doesn't work, Tony can give himself serum, gamma rays, and fight fire with fire. So he is guaranteed to be undefeated. So he is confident. But this guy named Guan Fuyun, make physics disappear. As Iron Man, Tony can understand and analyze more than others. But precisely because of this, he was even more shocked. The existence of Guan Fuyun was like a bug that broke through all his logic and knowledge, making him confused like never before. Chapter 17. This time, I'm guaranteed to win. At the same time, in a certain base in America, General Ross, the leader of the new Hulk capture team, felt stable. At the same time, there is help from S.H.I.E.L.D. plus X-Men. It's just a Hulk. Hey, hey, hey. Isn't it already within reach? And this time Steve Rogers is involved in the action. The well-known captain of the United States. As long as he exists and has a relationship with him, isn't it easy to gain popularity and votes? The little War Eagles can just be fascinated by him. With him taking action, even if the plan changes or even fails, the voters will only feel sorry for his brother and be further refined. What's more, it's foolproof. Ross immediately started the next step after capturing Hulk: build momentum and eliminate competitors. Don't worry about building momentum. When the time comes to show the American captain's shield, the media will go crazy about it. To eliminate competitors, the main thing is to physically eliminate them and make them self-defeating. This includes both his official and military opponents, including the man in black. No way. His popularity is too high now. If he falls into the hands of his political opponents and casually publicizes and throws out white noise bombs, he will become another national idol. Militia, popularity is power, popularity is money and lifeline. Let others steal the spotlight. That's something Ross can't accept. So if you can't get it, destroy it. Unable to confirm who the man was, he decided to put all targets on the assassination list. These targets, the S.H.I.E.L.D. files, he now has a copy of. Just like after the Hulk was created, his first reaction was to eliminate it, and it is the same now. This is called path dependence. This approach was not smart, and even Ross himself knew it was stupid. But he's arrogant, and he doesn't care. He is a powerful person in America. If he encounters any problem, he can force America, and even the whole world, to pay for it. He can make mistakes as much as he likes, but the consequences of this mistake will never be fed to him. In this case, he just needs to follow his wishes and enjoy the pleasure. Certainly. After all, the hate incident just happened. Ross was also unusually clever. He did not directly use his own soldiers or agents to assassinate. Instead, exports are outsourced. Anyway, the most important thing in New York is black gloves. Like the Kingpin or the Hand. If he wants to contact them, wouldn't it be easy? Otherwise, why can they exist? Soon, Dead Man's New York, which was already full of gunfights every day, became a little bloody again. Some men in black died suddenly on the street. Some young boys went to hell to meet the priest. But because too many people die every day, they cannot make waves. Guan Fuyun didn't know about all this. Azu didn't know, and Hydra didn't know either. Because Milligan is like a mental patient. The main focus is schizophrenia. It is originally a loose plate of loose sand. Hydra can add some water into it, but to really control it, like using its arms and fingers, is simply impossible. The president has no control over it. Certainly, with Guan Fuyun and Azu's character, they wouldn't care if they knew it. Just kill, 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 and that's it. But some people will care, such as Peter Parker. He is a reporter for the Daily Bugle and the Spider-Man who swings around the city. As a reporter, he was about to be fired by his boss. As Spider-Man, he was worshipped by his girlfriend Mary Jane and kissed upside down. After Spider-Man fell in love with Peter Parker, he saw Mary Jane holding hands with her good friend Harry Osborn. All I can say is that it hurts. It hurts too much. Wash your black belt. Now Peter Parker just wants to work and numb himself with the salary. The sensitive sense of smell brought about by his dual identity, especially the experience of competing with Kingpin, allowed him to discover a secret operation. A killing of a man in black and a little boy. The killers come from gangs, and there are even ninjas and people with super abilities. Their real target was probably that man. The man who stood in the way of hatred. As a reporter, Peter Parker was envious of that photo. Not to mention him, his boss said that whoever could create such a classic photo would be directly promoted and raised in salary. Peter Parker listened and took a big bite of the pie. Then follow and pursue all the way. When I came to the farm, I found no one there. The killers naturally shifted their target to Wanda. They have no feelings. Not good. Secretly, Peter Parker felt something bad in his heart. He made a quick decision and tore off his suit, revealing the spider suit. Then he rushed out with a swish, Bayubiu a few times, and subdued the killer with spider silk. But it was too late. The order to kill the little girl has been issued. Broken. Peter was smart, and he had a premonition that something bad was going on. Immediately, he started swinging around the city again, looking for the killer, wanting to do something good and be a good neighbor. Whoosh! Spider-Man swung over Stark Tower. I can't do this question. I can't do it. Inside, Tony Sherdagwa was going crazy. The more he studied Guan Fuyun, the more abstract he felt the world was. Saw Spider-Man passing by. Tony also chased him out and gave him a cannon. Sacred gold? Spider-Man counterattacked. These industrial giants, like Tony and Norman, seem to like to wear iron shells and go crazy. There is also Dr. Otto, although he is not an industrial giant, but he is a science geek who likes to run around with 8 iron claws. Norman was mutated by taking drugs. I really don't know how the other two people can control steel with their mortal bodies. Will it really not shatter into canned meat if dropped? Spider-Man complained crazily. After it was over, I still felt uneasy about my conscience. So I said to myself, have a good trip, Dr. Otto. Stop pretending to be a dead body. I will burn incense for you, other side. The country of Xiaori was completely harmed by Azu. Guan Fuyun also woke up and had a good rest. He opened the system panel and discovered new gains. It's different from Azu, whose gratitude level starts at 80 or 90 points. Wanda is slower to warm up. She is the type with great stamina. For example, when she gets along with Guan Fuyun, she may not feel anything. But once they are separated, she will miss him immediately. Moreover, the daily life on campus is dull but warm, and I have longed for it. It made her even more grateful to Guan Fuyun. Baby number 2, Wanda. Gratitude 80%, 81%, 86%, 90%, bite. Gratitude degree 90%, additional rewards will be drawn once to develop the entry. Do you want to use it? Yes. Guan Fuyun thought. Bite. Congratulations on getting the entry. Dadzu Enengo. The daughter is the godfather's little cotton-padded jacket, and the godfather is the daughter's fur coat. Your image is rooted in Wanda's heart. Like a giant, cover her from wind and rain, and remove all negative buffs and impurities from her body. Chapter 18. Hiss. Guan Fuyun took a breath of cold air to show his awesomeness. At first glance, this entry was prepared for Wanda. It can be said to be perfect. After all, the biggest uncertainty about Wanda or Scarlet, which is her origin magic power. This ability originated in West Thorn. This one is really heavyweight. An ancient god and god of the underworld who is extremely evil and extremely powerful. Its strength? To put it simply, what kind of dimensional master does Domomu claim to be, but if he really bumps into Sithorn? Then Domomu immediately had to change from the ancestor of Zwufeng to the humble little Zwufeng, who returned to the world of Journey to the West. To expand, The old universe before the Marvel Universe was a complete magical civilization, similar to the Golden Age of immortality. And Sidhorn was the strongest, fastest, and most evil supreme boss of that era. Later, the old universe was destroyed and the Marvel Universe was born. It gradually transformed into a technological side and a supernatural side, and magic was suppressed by the rules. The end of the Dharma era. The more powerful the magic master is, the more he is restricted and suppressed in this world, and can only live in the spiritual dimension of another dimension. But they never gave up their involvement in the material world. For example, Duomu, Mephisto, Imo, are busy every day, busy confusing people's hearts and looking for agents. And their agents often look for the Dark God Book. That is Sidhorn's work, the instruction manual for origin magic power. But the Book of Darkness has been waiting for Wanda to enlighten. Those things that the little kid couldn't get even if he died. Wanda came to them as soon as he called them, and even stood up and kicked them. But this power comes at a price. In this era, the weird people on the magic side are more and more inclined to be jokers, or they can only draw circles, such as most people in Kamatage. Or they can only stab people with a small knife, such as Loki, the #1 mage in the 9 realms. The only ones who can still stand up to the mage lineup are the Ancient One, later Doctor Strange, and the Scarlet Witch. The first two are both Supreme Mage. They stood in a position allowed by the rules, similar to the people of Destiny. The rules required them to be strong, so they were strong. They are the few in the Dharma ending age who can cultivate and become powerful apostles. By the way, I want to mention the old Loki in TV. He is also a mage, but that is because he is in the Time Variation Administration and is not in the main world, so he is suppressed by the rules and becomes weak. Over the years, his magic becomes stronger. But Wanda is none of the above. Her Dark Book and Sidhorn, the creator of the Dark Book, are challengers to the rules. The stronger she is, the stronger her destruction of the rules, and the stronger the backlash. Therefore, loss of control and seizures have become commonplace. Often when he goes crazy, the Avengers will be broken, or the mutants will disappear. But now, with Daizu and Ingo, all negative buffs are eliminated. The Book of Darkness is just an instruction manual. Sidhorn, god of the underworld, can no longer invade the material world with the power of chaos. Leave the good ones to Wanda and throw the bad ones to Sidhorn. It has completely turned into a magic extraction warehouse. That's great. Guan Fuyun smiled and gave it with one click. With the entries of Spiritual Pillar and Daddy's Wanunghu, it continued to play a nurturing role. His mental strength seemed to be nourished and strengthened, although it cannot be used for offense or defense. But I can already communicate telepathically with the babies. This was an unexpected surprise. Azu, you are abusing food again. Closing his eyes, Guan Fuyun saw that Azu was still killing anyone related to the Yashida family, even if it was a dog. He would also use his Super 5 senses and clairvoyance to find him, and then shoot him to death. A very brutal scene. But in his heart, Azu just thought he was playing the hide-and-seek version of One Life. Father. He heard his father's voice inexplicably, and Azu scratched his head, a little confused. This is my new ability. Well, it's the result of working to raise Wanda, Guan Fuyun said. Don't be too greedy to play with Lanyu. Kill him quickly. It's almost time for Wanda to finish school, and I have to go back to cook. Azu, Dad, what are you going to eat when you go back? What do you want to eat? Can I have mapo tofu? Okay. Guan Fuyun agreed wholeheartedly, and then he realized that this little brat was really evil-minded. Wanda has just arrived. Although I have tried hard to learn to use chopsticks, I may be able to pick up vegetables, but that does not mean I can pick up tofu. You can imagine. My sister-in-law Yang is going to play games at the dinner table again. The corner of Guan Fuyun's mouth curled up, and he found that he was also looking forward to seeing this scene. Hi. Raising babies is for playing. New York City, a wealthy area, a private aristocratic school. A girl with light burgundy brown hair, wearing a beautiful school uniform, was sitting in a daze by the window with her chin clenched. On the podium, the teacher is emphasizing knowledge points. The classmates around me listened more carefully and took notes one by one. They are all children of powerful families, and they have known from an early age that knowledge is valuable. They are different from the poor who want to receive a happy education and buy for $0 in the future. So they are highly motivated to work hard. Like Musk's good boy, he really believed in the foolish talk of diversity and freedom and then performed surgery on himself. It cannot be said that there are none, but they are in the minority after all, and can even be said to be victims of the struggle. Everyone in this school, Everyone knows a scientific truth that will cause a stir in the United States and may even win the Nobel Prize in biology. A male is a male and a female is a female. This normal atmosphere made Wanda feel comfortable and relaxed, just like what Guan Fuyun taught. Here, she doesn't need to study or research seriously. She just needs to participate in it, feel and absorb the freshness. That's what she did, and it's extremely well done. In just one day, Wanda's whole person became alive, full of vitality, and everything was in full bloom. I'm even in the mood for random thoughts. Girls' feelings are always poetry. On this day, Wanda was even confessed to her once, but she refused. In her picturesque fantasy, the man's figure lingered. That man kicked open the door that day, bringing in generous and brilliant light, illuminating her loneliness. Now, that man is her godfather. She likes her current life very much. Lord Godfather, Wanda murmured. At this moment, she seemed to be able to see her mind and see a giant standing tall in it. The giant looked exactly like Guan Fuyun, standing like a god. Protect her from the wind and rain. Teach her by words and deeds. Relaxed, happy. It comes naturally, as if she has enlightened herself. Wanda feels a scarlet energy, flawless, and continuously emerging. It is like telekinesis, but also like a strange and impossible fire of life, burning brightly. It is a die rolled by the caster, a balancing wheel that moves between life and death. And her mutant ability, probability modification, is the organ that throws the dice, turning decay into a magical lever. There is no epilepsy like the First Awakening in comics or movies. Wanda's eyes only glowed red and her hair color became darker red, and she perfectly controlled the pure version of chaos magic power. Bang! As soon as she thought about it, the ancient tree on the playground, which was said to be older than Millikan, suddenly exploded and turned into debris. Wow! What's this? The classroom turned into a vegetable market in an instant, and exclamations came one after another. My godfather will be very happy when he knows about my progress, right? Wanda thought. She had so much sustenance in her heart that she couldn't listen to the noise of the people around her. This kind of ability can be used for digging and farming. The efficiency should not be inferior to that of Azu, right? She was so happy. Chapter 19. Jingle Bell. Afternoon, between classes. Wanda was still sitting alone by the window, lazily and elegantly, taking out the bobo milk tea exchanged by Guan Fuyun from her bracelet and drinking it slowly. Why? She really missed her godfather. But it's different from Azu's childlike dependence and clinginess. Wanda felt that she was a bit naughty and her thoughts were not very pure. She was even thinking about what to name the child after giving birth. Just thinking about it makes me blush. This is another beautiful picture. Whoosh! But the next second, this scene was destroyed. Outside the window of the 5-story classroom, a Spider-Man swung over. Dong dong dong. Spider-Man knocked on the window and said, "Hello. Hello, Gu Liang. You may not believe it when I say it. You are being targeted by a ninja killer. You are a ninja and a killer at the same time. What kind of international joke am I making? But this is the fact. Listen to me, dash. The words have not yet finished. Swish, swish, swish. Several shurikens came spinning. Spider-Man felt bad, so he could only turn around and send out spider webs to fight the enemy. He didn't know Wanda at first, so he followed the killer all the way. When he arrived, the killer naturally arrived too. Run. Go call the police. Spider-Man shouted, and then he had S*X with those ninjas who jumped over the wall and appeared out of nowhere. Those ninjas were all masked and silent, with long swords sheathed behind their backs. They stood together, just like the mass-produced soldiers in the game who came out of a factory. The strength and speed of the miscellaneous soldiers are still in the human category, but well-trained. First, the shuriken blocked the space, and then he drew his sword, and I slashed randomly. The light of the sword flashed, as if it had been woven into a big net, airtight. Whoa whoa, dead pot ant pinch. Spider-Man was shown off, and made a sound like a country bumpkin was shocked. Although he doesn't know swordsmanship or martial arts, he can be as clever as Peter, and his reflexes are more Superman-like. His body can also be like a spider, jumping, flipping, climbing, and hanging upside down. In addition, he can also shoot sticky and strong nets and threads. If the ninjas are not careful, they will be entangled in those things and unable to break free. So after a few back and forth, Spider-Man seemed to be winning. A murder against an innocent, beautiful girl. He was stopped forcefully. Nice. Inside the spider suit, Peter Parker smiled. With great ability comes great responsibility. Ever since Uncle Ben passed away, this has been his life creed. Every time he succeeds in becoming a hero, the scars and regrets in his heart will be made up to some extent. But the smile only lasted 3 seconds. Whoosh! In the corner, suddenly a beam of silver light shot out, like a flick of the head, faster than a bullet. Spider-Man's hair stood on end. He made a big jump and narrowly avoided the sneak attack. With his superior dynamic vision, he was surprised to find out. This is not a special bullet, but a throwing knife. A flying knife, with a long and thin iron chain trailing from its tail, flew past the tip of Spider-Man's nose by a hair's breadth, and then nailed into the ground with a ding sound, reaching a depth of several feet. Crash! Then, the drag chain tightened and made a sound. The flying knife was pulled back, and a masked man wearing a red ninja uniform came out. His eyes are as sharp as a falcon, and his momentum is astonishing. He is constantly spinning chains and flying knives. At first glance, he is an elite monster. Of course, he is indeed an elite monster, Nobu Yoshioka of the Hand, a guy who has mastered the so-called Qigong. General Ross's purpose is to kill all those suspected of being men in black and little boys, as well as people related to them, such as Wanda. But that man had originally blocked hatred. Dare to accept the task of killing him. Naturally, the Hand will not just send ordinary ninjas, but at least some extraordinary strength. How about being prepared? Isn't this just a solo with the nosy Spider-Man? 6. Wanda sat by the window, drinking milk tea and watching the fight between the two sides, while the crowd fled in all directions. She even shouted in her heart, "Come on, I have seen Azu's violent killings, I have seen the Godfather's indifference, and I have experienced the torturous mentality of chopsticks." This scene before my eyes. In Wanda's eyes, it was similar to a street fight between gangsters. It was a bit lower grade, but it was still enjoyable to watch. But the Godfather had warned her to stay away from superheroes, as she would become mentally retarded and unfortunate. So Wanda ignored Spider-Man. It is true that after having super ability, it is respectable to stand up and become a hero. But it's as if the story of Naruto is about a group of ninjas and a group of battlefield hyena mercenaries desperately pursuing peace. There are bright spots, but the core is funny. Superheroes, if they want to uphold Millikan values while being a hero, they are destined to play house. It is even said that superheroes have done more evil and harmed more people than villains. So, Wanda just needs to keep away from the superheroes. You don't need to be one of them. This is good for Godfather, myself, Azu, and the vegetables, fruits, cattle, sheep, chickens, and ducks on the farm. This was when she was farming with Guan Fuyun and Azu on the farm. I realized it myself. When people are hungry, they need to eat. If people cultivate the land, they will have food to eat. If Spider-Man goes to farm and cultivates 100,000 acres a day, the food produced can feed the entire slums of New York. Who has nothing to eat and buy for $0? But he can't farm because there are no farmers in America, and the land only belongs to farmers in capital. In American cities, most people who have lost their jobs have no option of returning to their hometowns to farm. They can only become homeless people, or join gangs, become criminals, and become infinitely ugly in order to survive. That's the problem. This can't be solved by Iron Man or Spider-Man flying around the city twice, or Steve wearing a star-spangled flag and popping his butt. After understanding this, Wanda doesn't need to be like Azu, who has to ask Guan Fuyun to constantly bring up points, spoilers, teachings, and follow-ups. She knew how to do it herself. Such as now, she just needs to watch a play, watch the fun, make herself happy, and go home and tell her Godfather. He was also raised on the farm and stayed with Guan Fuyun. Azu learned the principles of official life. Wanda learned to have fun. Her face was calm, elegant, and indifferent, but her heart was already explaining like crazy. Chapter 20. Good. Now is the scene of Spider-Man versus Elite Monster Ninja. I'm Wanda, the farm narrator. Dream and Godfather stickers. We can see that the Elite Monster Ninja in red is looking directly at Spider-Man. His eyes are unruly. Is he trying to show off? Yes. He started to show off. He was naming the dishes and saying that he was Nobu Yoshioka of the Hand. Who is he? He said that he had no intention of becoming an enemy of Spider-Man, but just wanted to kill me, not my buddy. Who the hell are you? Spider-Man rejected him. The two started fighting after a disagreement. In the second round, Spider-Man took the lead and launched a spiderweb cage. Spiderweb entangled. This move clears the enemy line very quickly, but obviously it can't deal with elite monsters. What's his name? The elite monster rolled, blocked the invincible frame, and dodged the spiderweb attack. He throws a knife. Spider-Man twitches and dodges. Is he Parkinson's disease? It can be seen that the two ignored each other's long range, and they could only close the distance. Two figures, one red and one red, are fighting together, indistinguishable. It can be seen that the elite monster ninja is different from the miscellaneous ninja. Not only does his move skills reach the peak, but his strength and speed also surpass humans. Did you get an injection? Did you take drugs? None. It is chi. There is a transparent aura lingering on the body of the elite monster, like a magic matrix giving him powerful blessings. At the same time, fighting in the aura, Spider-Man seemed to be suppressed, and his operations were somewhat deformed. But Spider-Man is more powerful. Oh ho ho. It turns out that he has been holding back his strength to fight, but now he has started the second stage, releasing more power. The elite monster is sweating profusely. He threw a smoke bomb on the ground and was deducted 2 points for littering. Is he going to escape? No. No. With the cover of the smoke, the elite monster advanced instead of retreating. He tightened his abdomen, raised his anus, gathered energy in his left fist, and struck out with a punch that could break open a monument and crack a stone, carrying an invisible wave of energy. Spider-Man is backing up. What's going on? I can't understand. Everyone, wait a moment. I'll contact the Godfather and ask for an off-site analysis. Okay, I'm back. The Godfather said that this is called the Western mutated version of martial arts style. The Qigong of the elite monsters, according to the adaptation and not the random fabrication, originated from Kunlun and is a kind of Qi training technique. Like the head of the hand, he can even slap a car away. The scariest thing about Qigong is not the external enhancement. Instead, it can cause internal injuries, penetrate the skin and muscles, and cause devastating blows to the enemy's internal organs and physiological system. Even Spider-Man has to stay away, otherwise he may be bruised and bruised. No, there is also a reversal. Spider-Man started the prop game. He seemed to be retreating, but in fact he used his webbing to pull the trash can and attack. Bang! The trash can hit the elite monster on the back of the head, and the elite monster jumped into the street. What a piece of garbage. The explanation ends here. Etc. There are experts too. Call. It was a hearty battle. After dealing with Yoshioka Nobu, Spider-Man still couldn't relax and frowned. As a representative of street heroes, Spider-Man's business scope is very wide, ranging from $0 purchases to disasters that destroy cities and the world. He has to take care of them all, so I have a lot of connections. For example, he knows Daredevil and the Hand. In the current New York underground world, Kingpin is stirring up troubles and wants to unify all the gangs, and the Hand is behind him to help. This secret organization has existed in this corner of New York for more than 400 years. It's a terrifying beast. He, Peter Parker, will not be labeled as Peter Parker, right? In the past, Peter Parker would have been confident and fearless. But now is the point of Spider-Man 3. He can't even pay the rent. He has a dual identity, double obstacles, and he hasn't put on the Venom suit yet. Worse than Ashai. It got so bad that he began to doubt himself. Even if I'm in bad luck right now, I wouldn't be surprised. Inside the spider suit, the man inside, Peter Parker, complained about himself. The words have not yet finished. Boom. A transparent chi, similar to Yoshioka Nobu, but more powerful and surging, came out like an invisible hammer. Bang! Spider-Man was directly knocked away, spinning in the air, and then hit the ground. Q bounced a few times. Why did you hit your waist again? My back. Spider-Man said it hurt. It hurt too much. He spat out a mouthful of blood and felt that his internal organs were messy and warm. The mess was caused by some organs being shattered by the anger. It's hot because his resilience is not weak and is working to save himself. Look up. I saw another corner. First a black crutch that looked like a tumor came out, and then a wrinkled old face emerged. Like an old witch in a fairy tale. Mrs. Gao. Spider-Man said coldly. Madame Gao, one of the 5 fingers of the Hand, is a traitor who defected from Kunlun. This old Biden has lived for more than 400 years, and his attainments in chi refining are as high as 3 or 4 stories high. Spider-Man knew that Daredevil next door was defeated by her in one move, and was no match for him. Now he's on the street too. Run quickly, Spider-Man shouted at the top of his lungs, and when he looked back, Wanda was still sitting by the window. She ate her snacks as if it didn't matter to her. No Guliang you. Who knows? Family members. Spider-Man was also speechless. He wanted to speak, but was knocked unconscious by Mrs. Gao in the next second. Like Spider-Man knocking out Nobu Yoshioka. These people don't seem to know how to last hit, Wanda complained. Then, she saw Mrs. Gao, who seemed to be in her twilight years, spread her wings like a rock and turn over like a kite, and actually jumped up. She smashed the window, shook off the shards of glass, and walked towards Wanda, saying some pretentious words as she walked. What a little mouse that can hide. There is no one on the farm. Tell me, where did the man in black and the young man with blonde hair go? Say it, and it will give you a good time. Hearing this, Wanda frowned. Why did you go to my farm? Didn't I tell you? There is no one on the farm, Mrs. Gao said casually, feeling that she was very humorous. Maybe I stepped on a few acres of vegetable seedlings. Maybe I killed some cattle and sheep. Who knows? Exclamation point. This made Wanda become serious, with a straight face. Anyone is fine. She would be happy to see them wearing fancy clothes, fighting in the streets and putting on dramas. But it won't do if you step on your family's soil. This has touched the rice noodles. Yoshioka Nobu, Mrs. Gao, Han Hui. If they dare to step on the vegetable field today, won't they go to heaven tomorrow? There is already a way to take death. We can't bear it. Crushing bones and raising ashes. Must crush bones and raise ashes. She stood up. Her hands seemed to have pulled a scarlet ball of light from the void, and her eyes were flushed. Oh, are you also one of the extraordinary people? It seems that this time the goal is really correct. Ha. When the old witch saw this, her heart skipped a beat, but she didn't take it too seriously. The most indispensable thing in New York was Superman. Who knows if it looks scary, but actually only lights up and does special effects. Think so. Mrs. Gao's rickety body suddenly straightened up, she crutched a little, and the full chi pushed forward and spread like waves. He really has the demeanor of a peerless master. But in front of her is Wanda. Wanda tilted her head and used the chaos magic power as telekinesis. Before Mrs. Gao had time to react, she was embedded on the floor and unable to move. Just like Professor X Charles's bald girl fighting Wolverine. Just seconds. This result was completely beyond Mrs. Gao's imagination, and she was shocked. But see, with the sound of ta-ta footsteps, Wanda was wrapped around chaos. Her face was as delicate as a porcelain doll, stained with blush, and her lips were as bright as blood. Wearing a white-brown school uniform and white over-the-knee socks, the whole body seems to be surrounded by scarlet illusory flames, and the JK skirt rises and falls in waves. She looked like a college student who wanted to save the world after class, and like a female devil lurking in the classroom, walking up the scarlet steps step by step. Mrs. Gao panicked. Hey, can we reconcile? Chapter 21. I want you to call me Wanda when I'm happy, but what do you call me when you're unhappy? In front of the Scarlet Witch. What about Mrs. Gao, Hand Club? They are just trash fish, the spicy chicken among the spicy chickens. She ignored Mrs. Gao's Joker words. He directly used psychokinesis to invade Mrs. Gao's brain, read the memory, and find the secrets of the hand. Psychological power is not equal to mental power. But people with extraordinary talents can transform mental power into telekinesis. For example, Charles's bald girl. Therefore, the functions and effects of the two are similar. Certainly, what Wanda possesses is far from being as simple as mental power and telekinesis, but it lacks the explanation from the Dark God book. Chaos magic power only has the ability to fly big bricks. This alone is enough to deal with 99% of the characters. Such as now. Just because of the rough extraction of information, Mrs. Gao was shattered by Scarlet, and her withered skin and flesh seemed to be cremated and torn into pieces. Turn into ashes. In the Marvel world, sometimes it's really hard to want to die. Whether they are villains or superheroes, they can always win the resurrection game in various ways. Even the Hand, which is like a miscellaneous fish, claims to be immortal and has the means to extend its life and resurrect. But the prerequisite for continued life is to leave a part. Like Wanda, she directly used chaos magic power to nirvana every cell and even spirit of Mrs. Gao. What does she live for? Since then, for the first time since the Hand Association was founded, there will be a real dead ball on the finger. Gao Mrs. Gao. Wanda did not forget to replenish the elite monsters on the ground and crush them into ashes. Then go straight to the ninja base camp. After all, the Godfather said so. To kill, you must kill cleanly, and you must be thorough in your conduct. It is necessary to accurately grasp the pain points and difficulties of the villain, drive the killing through innovation, and eliminate the root of the problem to avoid the villain's updated version and iterative play style, which will cause trouble to daily life. Hurry up, don't delay school. Wanda muttered. At this time, Spider-Man was still fainting. New York City, a financial building. It looks bright and bright on the outside, but in fact the bottom of the building is completely hollowed out and is where the Grand Temple of the Hand is located. Since betraying Kunlun, he came to the American continent and established the Hand. This power, which has been developing for hundreds of years and is still a gangster, has been doing everything in its power and prosperity. Occasionally they will be matched up with a well-matched opponent, such as Daredevil. Occasionally, a few key members will be killed by Daredevil. But it doesn't matter, we can play in the playoffs anyway. But today is different. Mrs. Gao is crippled, completely crippled, and couldn't be resurrected even with their secret weapon, the Dragon Bone. The death of an immortal. This makes the other hands combine the other 4 of the 5 fingers, and the mentality is immediately shattered. After all, these 5 beasts stole a dragon bone and betrayed Kunlun because they were greedy for eternal life and pleasure. Now Mrs. Gao is completely dead. So who's next? Not only Mrs. Gao, but also Xian and the ninja soldiers are also dead and burned to ashes. The other party is extremely vicious. One of the 5 fingers, Alexandra said solemnly. First of all, exclude it from being a superhero. Although superheroes either have this or that ability, or are indestructible, they can always win the resurrection match, which has caused headaches for the Hand for more than a day or 2. But they have an amazing divine synchronicity. Basically, there is a no-kill principle. Even the most heinous criminals, such as those who tortured and killed countless people, were only imprisoned. How awesome is this? Especially for an eternal force like the Hand. Even if it accidentally fails, if you go in and lock it up for 100 years, maybe the crime will be legalized? So they are confident. But now, someone has broken this unwritten rule. And the kill was particularly successful. This is simply braving the disdain of the world, breaking the laws of our ancestors, and we must punish both black and white. Revenge. Must take revenge severely. This is beyond doubt, so the next question is only one. Who is the enemy? Alexandra said deeply. Have no idea. Squeak. The other 3 fingers made some noises. Everyone looked at each other, and then realized that there was really no way to lock the target. Because the opponent's attack was too brutal and too clean. There were no witnesses, no soldiers who came back to report, or even like the superheroes, after defeating the evil, they were cheered on the spot wearing fancy clothes, and they posed in a few coquettish ways to boost their popularity. Nothing. So much so that the Hand originally prepared a systematic intelligence system to deal with the chowing. It's completely useless. It's very uncomfortable. Being handsome is a lifelong thing. If you can even abandon being handsome, then this person must be extremely vicious and insane. How about we call the police? Alexandra continued. He felt like he was Kagoro Mori now, reasoning hard. As soon as these words came out, it was difficult for the other 3 fingers to give face. After all, although the Hand has been developing for hundreds of years, it is still doing dirty work, human trafficking, and tinkering with firearms. Looks so dirty. But aren't the American presidents also engaged in illegal immigration, arms trafficking, and drug legalization? We are all decent people in the civilized world. How can I call the police if I go out to fool around? Don't you want to lose face? Dong dong dong. Fortunately, when the atmosphere was at its most awkward, an accident happened. Not knowing who was knocking outside, Alexandra shouted. Come in. Then, the door opened. The world outside the door was peaceful, with corpses everywhere, and all the ninjas were penetrated, crushed, and burned by scarlet energy. A very cute doll girl stood outside the door and said politely, Are you the fingers of the Hand? Can I kill you? Get out. Alexandra said seriously. She meant it. Then, her chest was penetrated by scarlet energy. The magic power of chaos changes everything and destroys all things according to Wanda's will. The probability is 100%. Open-minded and bleeding, Alexandra struggled and wondered. How did you get here? I came by taxi, Wanda said honestly. Hearing this, Alexandra almost cried, and the other 3 leaders really cried. Not sister you. You are so awesome. You can kill the Hand alone. Don't you know how to fly? If you come flying like Iron Man or Spider-Man, we will definitely be prepared. If it doesn't work, just like the Captain of the United States, dress up in strange clothes and carry some equipment with you. Let others know at a glance. Back off. This person is showing off. Then we can also find you, right? You even took a taxi. As for being so down-to-earth, it's so immoral. You've ruined the atmosphere in New York, Ga. Chapter 22. Bang bang bang. Like squeezing a bubble, he crushed the head of the Hand leader. Wanda finally felt more comfortable. I avenge you, the vegetable seedlings that were trampled on the farm, Wanda thought in her heart. Then, she didn't leave, but continued deeper. Dragon Bone, Kunlun. Is it something from my godfather's hometown? She was interested in the secrets of the hand, or she thought Guan Fuyun would be interested. But, just like a clearance game, after clearing the troops and killing the boss, the real boss will appear. As Wanda went deeper, the hand's weapons and trump cards were contaminated with the power of the demon named Beast, and Black Sky was carefully cultivated. It flashed out with a swish sound. His whole body was shrouded in black energy, with 2 knives stuck in his back. The energy seemed to be like a living thing, gathering behind him, forming an abstract demonic face with a bloody grin. Crack. Then Wanda put her hands together and swatted the Beast and the Black Sky to death like a mosquito. Scared me. The little witch patted her chest in shock. These ninjas, even if they were not strong enough, would appear suddenly, as annoying and disgusting as cockroaches. She waved. The scarlet psychic power is like an endless blood-colored tide, with waves changing and sweeping underground. Although she does not have superhearing or clairvoyance, but every ray of thought power is equivalent to an extension of her senses, outlining the outline of the world for her. Kill the lurking ninjas, by the way. This is very efficient. Wanda soon saw a huge keel that was neither Chinese nor Western, about a few 100 meters long, embedded in rock formations like fossils. The bone powder of this dragon bone is the secret of the hand's resurrection. Take a sip and the body will be warm. Certainly, Guan Fuyun doesn't need it, and Wanda won't let Guan Fuyun get used to it. But just like Bucky's 1 and 2 arms, wouldn't it be cool if this thing could be pulled back and used as a specimen or figure? Even if it is used as firewood and played with, it is considered to be the best use of it, right? Wanda tidied up and put the dragon bones into the bracelet. Then she was surprised to find out. In the hole under the huge keel, there is actually an altar with huge amounts of eggs placed there. It's really big. The egg shell is snow white and its body is as tall as 2 people, bigger than Wanda. Question mark. How many meals of egg fried rice can this make? Wanda was shocked. Next to Guan Fuyun, when she sees something now, her first reaction is whether it is edible, and then whether it tastes good. Get rich. Such a big egg looked like a dragon egg, and Wanda couldn't even imagine how delicious it was. She packed it up and took it away. By the way, the underground base of the hand was destroyed, as well as the financial building used as a disguise. Rumble. This is a force that gives the neighborhood office a headache and even scares the Avengers and Defenders Alliance. Just like that, it became history. Pity. In their memories, the guy who issued the mission to deal with Guan Fuyun did not show up during the whole process or left no identity information. All I know is that he is a Millennium warlord. When school was over, Guan Fuyun and Azu came to pick up Wanda. The whole family was having a good time, and everything was normal. It was completely invisible. During the day, everyone was busy killing people and exterminating them, and blood flowed like rivers. Back to the farm. That's the way it is. Wanda briefly talked about the hand and the Millennium warlords, and then the 3 of them observed 3 seconds of silence for the trampled Kaimiao. That's the corn I planted myself. Could have made corn soup. Azu kept pouting, taking out the adamantium sword and gesticulating. He was really angry. Pity. The hand has made Wanda miserable, and now he has nowhere to vent. As a human being, you must not be internally consumed, but you must open your mind, Azu. Guan Fuyun was teaching earnestly on the side, like an old father, telling the truth of life. There is no need to know who it is. Put arrogance against arrogance. You can just kill any American warlord and let them know our attitude. It's still revenge. That's right. Azu's eyes lit up. He said that even to death, his father still knows how to be a good person. He was happy again. After eating, go out to warm up and digest food. Guan Fuyun said with concern again. Listen to Dad. Azu felt warm in his heart. The 3 of them fought for a while, treating it as family entertainment. Then his eyes fell on the dragon egg. What kind of pot should be used to cook this? Guan Fuyun was thinking. Make it into baked eggs. Azu was also greedy. Gudong. Wanda swallowed directly. She could only describe Guan Fuyun's cooking skills as miraculous. She really has had enough of white people eating. Wait. Seeing that the children were really hungry, Guan Fuyun took out a chopping board and kitchen knife and planned to crack eggs. Crack. Then I saw the egg cracking on its own. No egg white or yolk comes out. There was only one Godzilla, with its head sticking out from its eggshell, just in the eye of Guan Fuyun, who was wearing an apron and carrying green onions, ginger, and garlic. Gah! Little Godzilla screamed. He thought he had met a keeper. He opened his mouth and took a bite of green onion, ginger, and garlic, smacking his lips. It tasted okay. Is this some kind of swamp puppy? Azu. Is it edible? Wanda wondered. Can it taste on its own? Guan Fuyun. Knock on the horse. It turns out this is not a dragon egg, but a Godzilla egg. Yes, it's the most famous Godzilla, who has the most monster movies, and who can breathe atoms. It's exactly that variety. As a well-known Japanese monster, Godzilla once joined Marvel because of its popularity. And it's the main world of Marvel, not some other multi-universe. In the comics, Nick Fury even complained that as the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., he actually had to fight with a monster that could breathe atomic energy. And Tony Schitt also developed anti-Godzilla armor. So it's not surprising that Guan Fuyun picked up a Godzilla egg. What a fart. This is outrageous. Guan Fuyun could only scratch his head for a while. He asked Wanda to take out the information and files of the hand. Check it out. Good guy, there has never been a dragon. That keel is most likely a cracked ancient Ghidorah. It's just that the ashes have been eaten for hundreds of years, and they can no longer recognize their original appearance. To prepare for a rainy day? After all, the keel will be used up one day. The hand is always looking for the behemoth. They once spent a lot of money to go to an isolated island full of giant pythons to collect blood orchids. They also visited Skull Island and discovered huge amounts of orangutans. The Godzilla egg was accidentally discovered during this series of troubles and dug out of the ground. After expert appraisal by the hand, they believed it was a dragon egg. It's actually a closed loop of logic. Guan Fuyun was confused for a moment, and what made him even more speechless was that after confirming each other's looks, Godzilla seemed to regard him as his father. Chapter 23. In the setting, Godzilla is a monster that lives in the Permian and is at the apex of the ecosystem, and represents the will of Blue Star to a certain extent. Godzilla in the big movie is said to be the last descendant of the Godzilla clan. It was hidden underground and escaped the mass extinction of life in the Permian. In the modern world of the movie, it was reawakened by frequent nuclear experiments. And this one in front of me, it's a similar situation. It was also buried deep in the ground and never woke up, but was dug out by the hand and offered as a treasure. If it is not interfered by external forces, it is not unearthed in the country of Shuri, and it is not exposed to enough nuclear radiation. It probably will be a coward for the rest of its life. But the problem is, it meets Wanda, and it meets one of the most incredible powers of chaos in the Marvel Universe. It also met Guan Fuyun and the system. Bite. Congratulations to the host for adopting baby number 3. Godzilla. Reward. The farm area is expanded by 50 acres. The villa is expanded and rooms are added. In Godzilla's house, the infinite space setting has been added. The space inside is infinitely high and infinitely large, but it is desolate and everything is withered. 6. Apart from 6, Guan Fuyun doesn't know what else to say. Is this just a leak of anger from his father? Gah. Then I saw a 1.8-meter-tall Godzilla crawling out of the egg that was 2 people tall. It opened its big, sparkling, watery eyes, as if they were about to emit lasers, and its whole body arched cutely, leaning into Guan Fuyun's arms. Push away and arch again. Push away and arch again. Guan Fuyun stretched out his hand to scratch its head. Godzilla was like a puppy being stroked by its owner, wagging its tail happily. Strictly speaking, this Godzilla was born with an organ like an atomic furnace, like a walking nuclear bomb. In this family, is he really just a little puppy? It's so cute, Dad. Just don't eat it. Can you raise it for me? Azu also touched it. This kind of naturally weird and cool animal pet is really annoying to a boy of his age. And after getting started, Azu was surprised to find that this swamp puppy was actually moderately soft and hard. Its belly is as soft as a pillow, for Azu. Its back, those protruding parts like mountain peaks, are just right hard, like the stinging balls of a snake, which are naturally itchy. I can't even imagine how great it would be to roll around on it. Azu is a little eager. What a good toy. It can bite people when released. It's so cool. Then what shall we eat? Wanda never forgets her original intention. Guan Fuyun. It can be seen that she is really hungry. Let Dad kill pigs and cows. Instead of eating mapo tofu today, we will eat beef and sour bamboo shoots hot pot. Azu acted like a baby like crazy. Dad. Dad. What? Ma. Pa. Do. Fu. Wanda looked at Azu, like a real brother and sister looking at each other. They disliked each other so much that she was about to vomit and said, "You did it on purpose, right? Dog Azu." Shouldn't I call you brother? You are only 80 million years old. I was deceived by you. That's me who came first. Ha ha ha. Are you angry or not? Don't want to talk to the dog. Woof woof woof. Gun gun gun. Let you raise it. Let you raise it. What is the name of this thing? The two looked down upon each other, rolled their eyes, and quarreled. Guan Fuyun interrupted and said nonsense in a serious tone. Let's call it Godzilla. Judging from his physique, he will be a good player in the future. Good name. Azu. Good name. Wanda. Azu was angry. Why are you trying to imitate me? You childish fellow. Wanda was not willing to be outdone. Just a little bit. The two of them were so noisy that they went out to farm. Wanda was possessed by the magic power of chaos. With a wave of her little hand, the land was plowed, and the seeds were buried in it. Godzilla, let's go. Not to be outdone. Azu tied a plow to Godzilla. Good guy. It's more convenient than a plowing machine. The land for farm expansion was quickly fully utilized. A place full of vitality. That's great. Guan Fuyun watched for a while, then pulled off a pile of dragon bones and went to make charcoal hot pot. Godzilla is really good for Azu. After all, one likes to smoke Big Ivan, and the other shines brightly in the sun. Wouldn't it be beautiful if two heavyweights team up and fly into space together to absorb the rising eastern twilight crazily? Although the radiation is good, he is a little uncomfortable. If that doesn't work, you can find information about Dr. Octopus, and you can use Hydra or an artificial sun to feed Godzilla. This one is more powerful and cleaner. At the same time, on an unknown island deep in the ocean, the primitive jungle is dense. The beast roared. Boom. The landslide and the ground cracked, and an insect 50 or 60 meters tall with an inverted triangular head opened its dark red eyes. It has huge wings that cover the sky and the sun, and two pairs of long sickle-like legs. Every time it steps forward, hills are smashed into pieces. It's Muto, a Hollywood original monster. It is also an ancient monster like Godzilla. Because they like to lay eggs in Godzilla's body, both sides regard each other as their old enemies. They can sense each other. Just like what was shown in the big movies, Godzilla noticed Muto's awakening and ran over to give it two big dicks even though he had to travel thousands of miles across the ocean. Now the situation is just reversed. Godzilla was still a cub, madly loved and ignorant. Muto has grown up, he is excited, he roars, and he wants to kill his old enemy. But it can't get out. This damn island seems to have a shield from the outside world, and all the giants are restricted. Occasionally people can come in, but they can't get out. Neither Muto nor his wife could figure out why. But it can sense Godzilla, and it can also feel that the cover is becoming fragile. It crashes crazily, and one day it will be able to break through the shackles and fly freely. Bump! Come on, use force. Don't stop. At this time, under the island, there is a dark sea area that cannot be discovered by any detector. A strange noise was made. The owner of the voice. He was an old man wearing tattered ancient armor and ragged clothes, like a smelly beggar wearing a torn rag. He was clearly sitting under the sea, but his skin was cracked and withered, like an elongated, skinny stick insect, as if it might quake at any moment. But this is impossible, because he is Kull, a long-forgotten father who was supposed to be the god king of Asgard. He had a long life. His god's name is Jormungandr, the fearful serpent, because he lost to Odin. It has been sealed here for too long. How long exactly? The big snake doesn't know. But he knew that the 8 most powerful sages under him had been defeated, and the hammer had been scattered and sealed in various places. He knew that there was no longer a follower of his in this world, unless he can get out and spread fear again. Originally, there was little hope for this matter, but Muto's sudden madness and the weakening of the seal's power gave him hope. Orochi understood that Odin, who was sitting on the throne, was finally old. This was the fate of the God King, and he is stagnant because of the seal and young because of hatred. The current Orochi is like Odin when he was young, powerful, and unknown, and his power needs to be demonstrated, and he even dares to use his sword against the gods. Crash it. Crash it. I can feel your eagerness and anger. When the seal is broken, no matter who you want to kill, I will help you, and I will reward you as a divine beast. The serpent's gibbering affects reality and exudes the power of the Father. At the same time, Hulk Capture Team set off. In the Snake Shield Bureau, Lu Dan also became very energetic. But this so-called special operation, secret plan, the entire process was exposed within Hydra's field of vision. Even Guan Fuyun can watch the live broadcast and use it to prepare meals. Chapter 24. Farm. After repeated expansions, Wanda's room and Godzilla's room were added, and Azu's room also gained solid features. And Guan Fuyun's kitchen is naturally not to be far behind. The kitchen has also been expanded, adding figurine, trophy, shelves, a large round table, and a large screen. Yes, Guan Fuyun likes to cook directly in the kitchen. By the way, other hobbies are also incorporated, such as this moment. While watching the live broadcast of the operation to capture Hulk, Guan Fuyun, Azu, Wanda, and Godzilla each sat in their own seats, with the steaming sour bamboo shoots and beef hot pot in the middle. The sour bamboo shoots are smooth and as white and tender as a girl's thigh. The beef is cut into large pieces, thicker than thin and thinner than thick. Roll and scald it in hot oil, then scoop it out, dip it in water, and eat it with a few mint leaves. The taste is extremely refreshing. It was so cool that Azu took a photo, captioned it, "Daddy's Delicious Food," and then posted it on Douyin. So does Wanda. How else to say that products are culture? Now half of Americans are using Douyin, and Guan Fuyun even thinks that if he wants to run for president, he should just use Douyin to compete. Anyway, they are choosing one of the two idiots promoted by Capital. The program should be quite effective. He raised and lowered the entire rockets for fun. Bite. Godzilla, baby number 3, has increased gratitude. 10%, 20%, I almost forgot about you. Guan Fuyun turned his head and saw Godzilla sniffing the beef on his plate like a puppy. It hesitantly came forward, looked back and forth, and scratched. It's thinking. What the hell is this? Can it be eaten? Finally, it gave up thinking, took a bite, and started chewing in its mouth. At that time, my eyes lit up. Oh my God, this is so delicious. I'm going to show off my horse. Little Godzilla nuzzled Azu affectionately and begged for food when he was hungry. Azu was very happy when he saw this and quickly gave him some food. I took a look at the live broadcast. In the screen, Hulk stood in the center of an unknown city, tapping his breasts crazily. He stepped on a deformed car, roared to the sky, and roared into the clouds. It's like a wild beast announcing that it is the king of the steel jungle. But the next moment, boom, the strong light suddenly brightened, condensed into a beam that penetrated the sky and struck like a battering ram. The fierce energy impact made Hulk stagger. It turned its head. I saw a red gold iron shell falling from the sky, and the flames of the injector burned away the smoke and dust. Bang! Iron Man landed on the ground with a standard superhero landing, raised his head, and locked the Hulk. More armors flew behind him and assembled into a huge mechanical anti-Hulk armor. I found you, Dr. Banner. Inside the iron shell, Tony Scheidegg said playfully. Are his knees made of iron? Azu was asking questions. No. Then it won't hurt if he lands like this? If you succeed in pretending, it won't hurt. Superheroes are so perverted. That's right. Azu asked again. Then if I hit his iron shell, or shake it wildly, will the brains of the people inside be shaken evenly? Yes. Guan Fuyun replied, Don't say such outrageous things while eating. Unlike Marvel, where popularity determines everything, Steve opens Thanos 50-50. The people in the black robe still talk about physics. It's just that the performance is a little worse. Therefore, black robes are not suitable for eating and watching. Oh, Azu shrank his head. Everyone continues to watch the live broadcast. Hulk, smash it. Just as he was showing off, he was suddenly beaten by Iron Man and took away his strength. Hulk said he couldn't stand it. Who is not a popular character anymore. It roared angrily, and its footsteps were like an elephant beating a drum, and its astonishing momentum was like it could tear Iron Man's hand apart when it pounced. In fact, it is indeed the case. When Iron Man wears Mark Series armor normally, his style is stable and his appearance is as cool as the wind. As long as you put on the anti-XX armor, you will be torn apart by the enemy immediately. Just like now. Iron Man's hand cannon is not worth mentioning in front of Hulk's physique, so the sneak attack has some effect for the first time. Then it became photo-rejuvenation. Hulk roared and approached, smashing cars and buildings, like an innate civil body, raising rubble and dust all over the sky. Its green fist, bigger than a sandbag, penetrated the air, and the white fist wind evolved into a vortex, causing all the rubble and gravel to roar over, and then it was shattered and turned into smoke and haze. Opposite, the reactor pushes forward, flames erupt, and the anti-Hulk armor punches forward. Bang! The fists struck each other, like drums beating on the earth and roaring in the sky. The air waves swayed outward in circles, and the dust particles flying all over the street were blown away in an instant. Hulk maintains a forward punching posture, as does the anti-Hulk armor. The two sides seem to have a tacit understanding. Blocked. Tony was overjoyed that his research was indeed fruitful. Then he saw Hulk throw his second arm and punch. Boom. The steel joints of the anti-Hulk armor were directly shattered, and the iron pieces flew apart, piercing through several passers-by at random. Sting, sting, current overflow, mechanical failure, Jarvis red temperature alarm. Thump. Tony was also knocked out, and the anti-Hulk armor disintegrated. He dragged the broken iron shell and half knelt on the ground in a battle-scarred posture. All I can think about is, how on earth did Guan Fuyun stop this kind of monster? Invincible Hulk. It doesn't matter. I will take action. At a time when people were panicking, Milligan appeared wearing a star-striped flag and carrying a shield. People started cheering. Then Hulk scratched his head, stretched out his hand, grabbed the shield, and threw it again. The shield was like a dart, splitting a group of people up and down. Steve was stunned. No, bro. Is there a way to grab the shield? Everyone else was dumbfounded. Has he always been so confident? Azu lives in Bungbu, and Steve is just AB***************** D in his eyes. Such a person might die suddenly if he were in the Walt Company, even on a movie set. Why can he show up and show off? No way. Who made him the leader of the War Eagle? Guan Fuyun was also speechless. Thinking about it from another person's perspective, if there is a person wearing the Dongda flag, the original setting is only several times that of ordinary people, but because of the correct buffs, he can show off wherever he goes, and he can fight with everyone, and all kinds of gods and demons can do it. Listen to his command, and let the 1,500-year-old Thor pour you some wine when you're done. Then you shouldn't be sprayed to death? Maybe the buff plays a role. Hulk is about to punch Steve and make him mentally retarded. Storm and Cyclops arrived belatedly and took action to repel the Hulk. Relax, kid. You are not inherently bad. It's just that the whole world has been violent to you since you were born. The world kisses you with pain, and you should repay it with song. Professor at the same time. Black Widow, who was doing soy sauce on the side, also stepped forward to hold hands and comfort her with words. Under the dual attack of body plus mind, Hulk gradually lost his anger. Braised egg, mom fake. In the end, Black Widow is more useful. This abstract operation made his face darken. 6. Guan Fuyun watched it with gusto. To be honest, the actor who plays the Hulk publicly expressed his support for the ceasefire between Palestine and Israel before he traveled through time. Even the leader Fuyun's favorable impression of green fat/banner has increased a lot. If it wasn't inappropriate, he would have one. A similar situation exists with Hela, the goddess of death. She can lift and crush Thor's hammer. Guan Fuyun approves of it. She is good as a god king. It's too delicious. On the side, Azu said that he was full, felt guilty, and wanted to go out for some activities. Kill American warlord for fun. Chapter 25. New York, night. Whoosh. In the sky, Azu was wearing a black Superman suit, overlooking the human city. There were planes flying beside him, and his eyes were gradually turning scarlet. He put his hands on his hips, thinking about whom to trouble. Who should I look for? Daily Bugle. Good news. Ross successfully captured Hulk. Win. Steve Rogers reappears. What is the mystery between him and Ross? Shocked. Rose is so great. He really makes me cry to death. Azu is looking for prey, and overwhelming publicity began on the big screen in Times Square. This noisy media gave Azu a target. If I hadn't met my father, I might have been a hero promoted by the media, Azu murmured. Popularity, fan index, support rate. This is the truth that what company has instilled in him since he was a child. In the past, he didn't know what he wanted. He felt that he should be what the company expected. But now, Azu has escaped his sad fate. He is no longer a packaged, perfect product. He is a consistent, imperfect, living person. All the time. Azu has a secret that he didn't even tell Guan Fuyun. The secret is that every day when he falls asleep, he dreams that he is back in the laboratory. I dreamed that I had been studied and experimented until I grew up, and then I was packaged by Walter Company and became a native of the Seven. The people of the motherland have infinite glory on the surface. In fact, he has no relatives or affection at all. He has everything but nothingness. The scientists and wet nurses who raised him were afraid of him. The 7 people who were with him feared and loathed him, and betrayed and deceived him one by one. His son's mother hates him. His son rebelled against him. Even his biological father, the soldier boy, brought Oi to kill him and killed him with a chest cannon. From start to finish, the people of the motherland are just weak and giant babies. Azu dreamed of the people of his motherland, and dreamed that the people of his motherland were talking to the mirror, and he was just a fragment in the mirror. The two looked at each other, as if they could see each other's lives. That moment, Azu saw envy in the eyes of the people of his motherland. He was so envious that he went crazy and went crazy. He cried and rolled on the ground and kicked his legs. Azu smiled. Because he didn't have to grow up in a laboratory, he grew up beside Guan Fuyun in the sunshine. He has a father, a farm, and vegetables and fruits that he sowed with his sweat. He also has a relative, Wanda, and a cute pet, Godzilla. Looking at the universe, wherever the sun shines, he can feel Guan Fuyun's teachings. Just close your eyes. Azu can't see a spiritual pillar. As long as his father is here, even Professor X, the #1 spiritual master, cannot control him. He is free and has everything. Fame, power, wealth are all insignificant. Be it Hydra, the company he conceived in his mind, or the company that hasn't been launched yet. None of it matters. The important thing is that he finally understands and has love. Even if Guan Fuyun is an ordinary person, Azu can control himself. He will never lose control again, and he will never lose again. Even if Guan Fuyun is a sanitation worker, Azu will ride on the garbage truck carefully and happily. He is still his father's treasure. On that day, Guan Fuyun ran desperately, stood in front of tens of thousands of people, blocked the hatred, and hugged him. It is the eternal light in Azu's heart. That photo is Azu's favorite and proudest moment. But now, the popularity and traffic of that photo were actually robbed by Ross. For this reason, Azu decided to weigh him up. Certainly, at this moment, with the reminder from the dream, what Azu wanted to kill most was actually the soldier boy and his other self. The bull demon defeated the city in a certain building. It's gone up. It's gone up. Mr. Ross, after the appearance of the American captain, your approval rate continues to soar. The subordinates rushed in excitedly. It's all under control. Ross was holding a pipe in his mouth, like a 5-star general in COS. He commented, "This time, who else can stop me? Who else? I won, ma." Boom. Before he finished speaking, Azu fell from the sky and directly smashed the houses one by one. Coming like a Mephisto. In an instant, General Ross's impassioned acceptance speech came to an abrupt end. He was stunned. At this moment, Rose's heart almost stopped beating. He has done countless wicked things in his life, and his hands are stained with blood. But the pressure and suffocation at this moment are very different from the feeling of having a gun pointed at your head and a knife held on your neck. This feeling is like a mayfly and an elephant. Just because they meet, the weaker one has no other choice but to be crushed. Not even a conversation. Azu's eyes immediately turned red. Etc. Do you want money? Do you want power? I'll give it to you. I can give it to you. You will be my subordinate. No, you will be my boss. Ross talked crazily, but was still penetrated by heat vision and lost an arm. He was trembling. He was desperate. It shouldn't be. It's obvious that the plan was successful, and it's obvious that he has regained support, popularity, and votes. But what's going on with this sense of powerlessness? Brother, where did you come from? Could you please say something? Don't be too arrogant. Wait, arrogant? Arrogant. Sudden. Ross was shocked and stunned. At this moment, he thought of himself and the people he had killed. At that time, he was just as arrogant and arrogant. And at this moment, his helplessness, despair, weakness, humbleness. Is it what those people feel? It turns out that Ross is just an insignificant little Kayla Rice who is nothing like a dog. If someone wants to kill you, kill him. How ironic. Ross closed his eyes in despair, and his entire body was burned to ashes by the heat vision, leaving no residue behind. Whoosh. After killing Ross, Azu took off from Woohoo, humming a little tune and in a beautiful mood. At this time, Luodan, who successfully captured the Hulk and returned to the Imperial Court, heard that the person who took over Hulk was gone. The Russians are so bad that they can no longer pay the final payment of the project. Spiced corned egg.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.